And we're good.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Hello, I'm Kara Jean. I'm joining you from Oregon. I work with leaders who care deeply and want impact without burnout. From Neurospicy Lens, I focus on how real human nervous systems show up at work, especially under pressure. And in this work, empathy is one of the hardest skills that we can apply. It is leadership infrastructure. So I am delighted to be here with all of you today. And we're going to officially open the summit. A few quick housekeepings. We are recording the session for educational and promotional purposes. The clips will be shared on social media, so please use please use the feedback form in the chat to submit your comments and stay plugged into our thriving ecosystem. Most importantly, you have permission to be a human. If you need to take up space for your needs, please go do that. If you have fur babies or need to fidget or run to the bathroom or grab a snack, all of that is welcome. This is going to be a judgmental free zone. On behalf of the Empathy Center, I would like to welcome you to the Empathy Summit on the topic of how might we build this empathy movement. The Empathy Center's mission is to build the empathy movement and to raise the level of mutual empathy in the world through education and community initiatives. The summit isn't a one-off. It is the launch of an ongoing co-creation series. We are collaborating to generate meaningful insights and share the outcomes. Before we dive into the work, a massive thank you to our whole community. Thank you to our sponsors and volunteers. I want to take just a moment to thank that whole community that makes this possible. Our generous partners, sponsors, and our terrific volunteers make this free event what it is. All the links to connect with them and join the Empathy Summit production team. We meet every Friday. Well, not every Friday, and we usually start on time and end early. Are posted in the chat. You can see more about us in the link. We invite your organization to be a partner, sponsor, or volunteer. Please see a list on our website. Let's start co-creating together. And when we're done, I'll ask you to share the fruits and insights that we harvested from this summit and share them further out as widely as possible. Thank you so much. It is my honor and delight to now introduce the wonderful Miss Selene. Selene's goal in life has been to bring a little peace to the world through meditation and the practice of fostering collaborative, empathetic communication. Selene is an empathy circle facilitator and trainer, and today we'll be talking on how to integrate the skills of the empathy circle in business and government meetings. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. So I live in Southern Oregon in the United States, and my background is in education, mediation, nonviolent communication, peace activism, and empathy circles. I dove into the empathy circles practice during the pandemic. They actually saved me. And every Saturday we got together, 5 hours, rain or shine, no matter, there we were together. There were people from all over the world, and it was a very exciting time. I learned so much. And I announced at one point, I can listen to anyone without reacting. And it took me almost 2 years to learn that that wasn't really true, but it was close. So I've learned a lot. So recently, I introduced um, the empathy circles to a school board, and it was a half-day workshop. They were not interested. They didn't know about empathy circles. They had not signed up for this. However, I did role play myself and one volunteer um, to show how it works a little bit. And then I had two people also role play, and in that way, they learned pretty quickly what the empathy circles are about. Um, and let me see. So yeah, after the demonstration, sometimes there's time to do a fishbowl, and I've done those, and I think they're very effective. You can go 15, 20 minutes and demonstrate how the process works and get people involved and do their own circle. The thing about the empathy circles in this kind of context is that inherently they promote important values that help any organization or group of people, and not in a preachy way. So, empathy, which is, I don't know, sensing and feeling into the experience of others, and self-empathy, sensing and experience into our own experience. But what it does is it's attention. And we all want attention. And it's attention free of expectations, free of judgments, and free of agenda. And the values, of course, mutuality. We aspire to a reciprocal empathy between all people, and equality. Everyone gets a turn, same amount of time, same amount of attention. Seeing everyone's humanity, having a sense of warmth for humanity, respect and space for everyone, no arguing, no contradicting, no judgments. So, empathy listening requires full attention, and we all appreciate full attention and freedom within a structure, and that gives you freedom, but also safety. And one of the things that I did right away when the people demonstrated, what they didn't know what they were doing, but they were doing it, is that the speaker can influence how they are heard, how they are listened to by expressing one idea at a time. And this is kind of, unfortunately, it's radical in some meetings, especially, I don't know, maybe in government or in the civil service kind of world, because in this group, like in many others, there's this very enthusiastic, very knowledgeable, very, um, you know, eager to participate person who'll show up and say, okay, so I have a proposal and it has 4 parts. Number one, blah, 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 blah. Number two, blah, 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 blah. And people are rolling their eyes going, oh gosh, here we go, because this person does this at every meeting and takes up all this space, and they're frustrated. So that was a key piece in this particular morning, was say one idea at a time, and it changed everything. I think might have changed this person's life. So this is a little bit of what I can share with you about introducing empathy circles into a not especially friendly situation, but people eager to improve their meetings and their work together. So thank you.
You still have 5 minutes if you want to take it.
5 minutes. Well, let me see what else I can tell you. Um, Folks wanted to practice with real stuff that was going on for them. And they were also kind of reluctant and withholding at first. And I saw that by practicing with each other, this kind of listening to each other without, evaluation, without reaction, softened their protectiveness and came into something more like trust and vulnerability. So it was interesting to watch the gradual, like I say, softening in the group. And this particular individual that has been so difficult for the group and became introspective. And I would see him, sitting there thinking and slowed down. And I think this was a benefit to everybody, including to himself. I think the empathy circles practice cuts through the people's kind of automatic way of getting attention. It's like, this is what I know how to do. I tell them all my great ideas. I have great ideas, and I go one after another and a lot of enthusiasm, and it has the opposite effect. People kind of turn off. And it's like, oh yeah, here we go. So I think that person witnessed another option that I hope he's continuing to practice. I don't know. The organizer of the event has been in touch with me, has told me that a couple of the people in the meeting decided to meet together, not in a formal meeting. I mean, that's the other thing that is in these kinds of groups, like a school board or a city council or something. You're not just talking to your colleagues, you're also being witnessed by you don't know who has an opinion, who's going to express it. And you have to be ready to deal with that. And I think that the empathy circles practice helps you because you're used to not responding right away. That responding right away is definitely a way to get into trouble. But if we have to breathe and just listen and be here, no matter what outrageous thing the person is saying, so that one can reflect, it's a very different pace and a very different attitude. And I think that it's very clear when a group of this nature meets and experiences it, the difference is so obvious that they're inspired to learn more and practice it more. So I'll finish there. Thank you.
Ah, that was amazing. Thank you so much. I would validate all of that. What I heard was time, attention, humanity, and full attention. To me, that speaks to a present moment practice that allows you to not only speak to be understood, but listen to understand. And goodness, what a world we would live in if everyone would do that.
Indeed.
Thank you. Well, that was a good start. And now we've got more. I get to bring up Janna and Maria next. Janna Weiss is an empathy circle facilitator and trainer. She is accredited facilitator for the Foundation of Developing Compassion and Wisdom in the 16 Guidelines International Flagship Program. Maria Trottmann is an economist interested in building institutions and social systems that foster humans' flourishing and social harmony. Also an empathy circle facilitator who has participated in and facilitated numerous empathy circles on the 16 guidelines. Today, they're going to share with us on embodying virtue, combining the classic empathy circle with universal human value. Take it away, ladies.
So, let's see. Doesn't work. So thank you so much for being here. It's really a joy to be here. Thank you to the Empathy Summit team. Thank you for everyone who took time today to be here. I'm going to keep track here if at all possible. So, embodying empathy circles. Embodying virtue, the classic empathy circle with universal human values. It's a delight to share this with you. Let's see, I have to play. So first of all, what are universal human values? We'll start with some quotes. By inner values, I mean the qualities that we all appreciate in others, and toward which we all have a natural instinct, bequeathed by our biological nature as animals that survive and thrive only in an environment of concern, affection, and warm-heartedness, or in a single word, compassion. The essence of compassion is a desire to alleviate the suffering of others and to promote their well-being. His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. And what is embodied virtue, or the ethics of virtue? The ethics of virtue is the ethics proposed by Buddhism and some ancient Greek thinkers like the Stoics and Aristotle, a plea for the animals, Imagerie Car, and he continues. As the neuroscientist and philosopher Francisco Varela wrote, a truly virtuous person does not act out of ethics, but embodies it like any expert embodies his knowledge. The wise man is ethical, or more explicitly, his actions arise from inclinations that his disposition produces in response to specific situations. In other words, the context matters. So we're firm when that's beneficial and gentle when that's beneficial, and so on. Why practice universal human values? So studies by research psychologists have found considerable positive mental health outcomes. And the values or virtues that have been studied extensively are forgiveness, gratitude, hope, humility, and practical wisdom, which is a translation of Aristotle's phronesis, which means doing the right thing at the right time. And research psychologists from these areas have studied these different values or virtues. There's a vast literature of positive psychology that one can explore, that you can explore, and that was followed up on by Harvard Global Human Flourishing Project, and now there's a Science of Human Flourishing, and more recently, the Science of Virtue, addressed and studied by research psychologists. So why practice universal human values? Again, for a genuine sense of inner well-being and to heal violence for a more peaceful society, in short, for inner peace and world peace. So I'm offering this reasoning through a public health model which will help us heal violence. This is a Western model of violence taken from the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, and it starts with the individual predisposed to violence, who then encounters a situation predisposed to violence, then perhaps a triggering event. You can see that these two gentlemen on the right here in the situation are starting to point fingers and getting a little heated, and then resulting in violence. And this model leaves something to be desired. The way we understand this in the West, this is the model we use for our institutions, and based on this understanding, we apply our resources to violence at the end by applying handcuffs and prisons and state and legal measures that are quite aggressive. And also we put a lot of resources on the situation predisposed to violence, more policing, security, laws, legislation, regulations. Green spaces are very nice and helpful for us to feel connected. And after-school programs are also lovely. It would be really wonderful if they all had empathy circles with universal human values. So the Buddhist mind science model of violence actually ends where the Western model begins. An individual predisposed to violence is not anything external about them. It's not their body size or their gender or their skin color or their religion, the externalities, what they're wearing, not easily picked up on at an airport with cameras. It is what happens in our minds. And so an individual is predisposed to violence if they have a harmful intent. And the Buddhist mind science model shares 3 root causes for all our harmful intents. So I'll elaborate a little more on these root causes. The I, me, my, mine, the self-centered view, and from it arise the all good projection, seeing the things that I like and that I want and that I identify with and that are me and us, and separating that from the things I dislike, I hate, that I want to get rid of or destroy, the them. So this us and them thinking, this view is very destructive. And so we have these mental afflictions that arise, the pride, the self-centered attitude, leading to greed, envy, anger, and hatred. And these, just to emphasize that this I is the root cause of the 3 root causes, and nothing against carrots. So if we put these models together, we get a complete model of violence, a public health model to heal violence. And Tibet was a very violent society 1,003 or 1,400 years ago. And King Sonsen Gampo united the kingdom and brought teachers from India, Buddhist teachers of compassion, to Tibet to help transform the society to a compassionate, peaceful society. And he himself wrote a very short verse of 16 lines that included just general human values, how we can treat each other, respect for the elderly, generosity, loyalty, kindness, and so forth. So these are basically synonyms, exchangeable human values, social values, guidelines, and so forth. And over 20 years ago, Lama Sopa Rinpoche, a Tibetan teacher, advised his students to take a closer look at this short 16 lines that the ancient Tibetan king wrote, and to see whether they could apply these general guidelines for human conduct to something that is secular, universal education, good for all human beings. And so Alison Murdoch and Dickie Lee Oldershaw took up the project, and they wrote this beautiful 16 Guidelines for Life, a book that's available on the Foundation for Developing Compassion and Wisdom website. And Foundation FDCW has also created this PDF. It's a free PDF that has excerpts from the book 16 Guidelines, and we are using that for our empathy circles with the 16 guidelines. So I just want to thank Larry Lawhorn and Ruth Cook, who started offering these empathy circles with me, and now Maria and I are doing this, and we started last year. So just to give you a taste of how these guidelines counteract these three root afflictions or causes of violence, we have pride, self-centered anger, greed, and their antidotes. The first guideline is humility, especially a proper perspective. I'm not the center of everyone else's universe, but rather I'm one of 8 billion people. So a proper perspective and one of many living beings. And then patience is a direct antidote to anger, and contentment, a direct antidote to greed. So if we practice these well, and a few more things, then we totally uproot these root causes of suffering, and we transform our minds. And now Maria will continue, and I'll continue to share the screen.
Yeah, thank you very much to the Summit team for letting me speak here in front of this wonderful crowd. And thank you everyone for being here. And thank you, Janna, for this really nice introduction. So I'm going now to talk a bit more about how we do these empathy circles with the 16 guidelines. So we have a very classic empathy circle structure. Janna, you can maybe move. We have breakout rooms with up to six participants. We cultivate a free speech space, so there is always an invitation to speak on whatever is on your heart and mind. We also do a full group debrief after each circle, which we commonly do in the empathy movement. Then we have some add-ons, so maybe the first 8 minutes or so are spent on a topic introduction. This is usually done by a shared reading of some texts. And what's also really nice, we have participants from different networks. So there are 2 Buddhist centers from Lama Sopa's network, the FPM team, who have it on their program. There is the FDCW, this Foundation for Compassion and Wisdom, that has them on the program. And of course, this wonderful empathy movement. So what we do, we first do an introduction to the guideline, for example, service. So we would start with a little definition of service. Service is the outer expression of a wish to benefit others, to increase their happiness. This is a direct excerpt of the 16 Guidelines guidebook, and we maybe have a bit of a longer text. Then we always have some role models. The 16 Guidelines book has also role models because these people embody these qualities so well, they can really inspire us. For example, Martin Luther King is the role model for service, and his quote would be, "Life's persistent and most urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" Wow, what a way to live. And then Archbishop Desmond Tutu, he is the role model for forgiveness in the 16 Guidelines, but he of course spent his life with a lot of service to others. So we can also have a quote of his here. do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. So we don't have to be in this diamond league of beings to be of service. Just do what you can wherever you are. Then we have our suggested topics. An example would be, what might limit your ability to be of service? And how might these limits be a good thing? Or whatever is on your heart and mind. And then now I'm going to make some examples why we think these empathy circles is really just an ideal practice for embodying the 16 guidelines. For example, in the section of how we think, we have the guideline of patience. Patience is defined as cultivating a calm and spacious mind, regardless of what is coming up. And in the empathy circle, we really practice with this calm and spacious mind and listen with this calm and spacious mind. So that is certainly getting practiced. Then we also have contentment. Now, in the empathy circle, everybody is equal. Mutuality is a big inbuilt in that structure. And this equality makes us more happy with who we are and what we have. So contentment is practiced. Then in the how we act section, we have, for example, the quality of honesty. Now, in an empathy circle, we can really speak from our heart because we are heard in a non-judgmental way. There is no need for a layer of defensive armor or people-pleasing makeup. We just can speak whatever is on our heart. So honesty is certainly practiced. Then we also have generosity. Now, listening with your full attention is a very generous gift that we can give to each other. And we shared in one circle that even in quite intimate relationships where we would go to great lengths to help the other one, sometimes listening is not a gift we always give. And it's very good to practice it, this kind of generosity. Then we have how we relate to others. Here we, for example, have the quality of forgiveness. Now, this being heard in a non-judgmental way really helps us to let go of resentments toward ourselves and also towards others. So this forgiveness is certainly practiced. Then we have the quality of gratitude. Now, I've noticed that often when people come back from the circle, they have this glow in their eyes because they're so happy about what has been shared and the connections they could feel. So it really also helps us to be grateful for just being human and being with other humans. Then how we find meaning. Here, for example, we have the quality of principle. Now, in an empathy circle, we are invited or we practice to speak really with clarity. And because of the reflection, we can also have a good sense about what we are saying is really in line with what we are feeling inside. And if there seems to be a little tension there, we're given the time to pause and really feel that, rather than just talking more or talking louder, which we sometimes do. So I think being in principle is really also practiced in the empathy circle. Then we have a quality of service. Now, listening with a calm openness is really crucial to benefit others. If you are trying to benefit somebody, but you're not willing to listen, maybe the outcome is not as good as it could be. So thank you very much, Edwin and all the team. You really invented the perfect practice to embody these ancient wisdom and also give us the opportunity to have a deeper understanding of them and how they are relevant to our lives today. So one of our regular participants actually said it best, and she wrote to us, "Empathy circles to me are an amazing experience. There was no one session where I did not have an aha moment, a new and widened understanding of the world. We all become each other's role models for the guidelines." Very nice quote by Maria Grabrani. So we usually close with something that is not part of the empathy circle or the 16 guidelines, but we like to create a wish that this practice is somehow beneficial, not only for us, but also for all humanity. So we close with this wish, and I would like to read it out here as well. May anyone who sees me, hears me, thinks of me, talks about me, loves me, hates me, doesn't care about me, by my presence in their life, may they somehow benefit, have their suffering transformed and happiness enhanced. May empathy circles benefit all beings directly and indirectly. By doing this interdependent mutual reflection on the classic empathy circle and universal human values, may we one day completely perfect our compassion, love and wisdom so that we may have the skillful means, the embodied virtue, the kindness and discernment to bring all other beings to that state. So thank you very much to everyone.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yes. Don't just act the values, embody them. And yes, empathy circles are a fantastic practice for embodying so many of those values, the compassion, the kindness, the humility, the space taking and space giving, and that dedication. Chef Kiss, will you please post that into the chat, because that was delicious and I would like to say it more often. Yes, please, and thank you. Thank you so much. Big breath, everybody. Oh, yeah. We're ready for some more? Okay. Dean is going to come up. Dean Bowles is the director of a local community charity and works part-time as a volunteer in a local community kitchen for the homeless and disadvantaged. Today, Dean is going to talk on the use of empathy circles and family dynamics. This is for everybody. Take it away, Dean.
Hello everyone, I'm just checking that I can be heard. I'm not sure if the headphones are working correctly, but this is the way of things with technology. It's also the way of things with families. Sometimes we think we're speaking clearly, and sometimes we think we've made ourselves understandable for other members in our family units. But it's only with careful reflection and with careful listening that we can actually truly see what they see or they think they understand of what we believe is in our hearts. I came to the empathy circle practice through activism, and it was a way of us activists bonding with each other, sharing trauma, sharing joy, and sharing gratitude for each other. And I developed the affinity for this practice because it was the first time I'd come across anything whereby I was taught to listen, to understand, to comprehend, rather than to compete with, because my family dynamics were, I was brought up by some lawyers, so I was brought up in a very combative environment. And it seemed I brought this forward into my own family unit. I thought I'd somehow left it behind, but it's very hard to leave behind where you come from unless you work very hard at it, or unless you have someone reflecting back to you where you're at now, so you can actually see yourself for where you truly are, not where you think you are. So I learnt the practice through my activism. I then underwent training the trainers on how to run empathy circles, and this then gave me a deeper insight. And I then took that level of that understanding to conflict resolution. And I used the conflict resolution in my activist work with situations that were arising to dissolve tensions. Meanwhile, in the background, there was this increasing tension within my own family unit. My partner was in decline. May she rest in peace, she's now passed away. My daughter was in a situation of feeling she wasn't visible, so she was self-harming for attention. And then my partner was having accidents all the time. So there was this war of attention between the two of them about who could hold the limelight almost. And in the end, I thought this is really dangerous, because it was escalating. Each one was going deeper and deeper into this trauma. And then I remembered actually I'd used this process called the Empathy Cafe, the Empathy Circles. So I sat them down and I explained to them the process. I said it was a constructed dialogue with a limited time to speak. So you had to be thoughtful about what you said to each other. And at first, it didn't go too well. It was very hard for them to not question, not to pass judgments, and to just be present with someone and speak to what they'd just heard. But by the third time we'd done this process, actually they started to get a hang of it. And they started to then be fully present with each other. And I saw a side to my daughter that I had been blinded to. I gained deeper insights into why she was doing what she was doing, and the pain that she was in. Because when you listen to understand rather than to think you know it already, you get a deeper level of understanding. And when you reflect back, you hear yourself reflecting their situation. So it started to enable us to be fully present with each other in a way we'd never been before. Because families are beautiful things, but they can also be very heated things, very traumatic things, because when you're with someone all the time, you know what buttons to press, you know how to activate their rage or how to make them sad, or you have prejudgments and you're preloaded. So with this process, all of that gets negated, because you actually have to be present and you have to be quiet and you have to listen. And through this listening process and through this mutuality and removing all the power dynamics in a relationship between their parents and their child, it suddenly empowered my daughter to such a level that she'd never experienced before. She then started to be more present in everything. She started to ask more questions. She started to come forward more. She started just to realize that actually she wasn't just a child, she was a living individual, and that both me and her mother valued her as that individual, not just as a child. So it empowered her, and it enabled her to understand that she could actually ask us to be quiet. And she could actually say, right, we're having an empathy circle now. There's something we need to talk about. Because we had this unwritten rule that if ever there was something going on within the family, we could call for a quarter of an hour empathy circle. It would be 2 rounds, 3 minutes each, just to reflect on a hot topic or something that we thought the others should know about. And although my partner was declining in her mental capacities and her physical health, it did aid her, and it did aid both myself and my daughter in assisting her on her journey. I think without that process, without that depth of time, or just being present with someone, that we would have both been scarred a lot further and a lot deeper than we were scarred. So using the circle removed those power dynamics within the family, and then enabled us as individuals to be present with each other as individuals, not as the father or the mother or the daughter. I still have to give great thanks for this whole thing, because it really did enable me to understand their point of view about what I was doing. I thought I was doing things for the right reason. Turned out my understanding of what I thought was right was biased and skewed by what had happened to me, and I hadn't actually listened to what was happening to them. So my preconceptions were clouding my ability to see who they were and what was going on within the family dynamic. So being present with them without judgment or without criticism or without questioning, and actually just hearing them brought a whole new level of richness and just empathy within our family. And my daughter's no longer self-harming. She's still on the road to recovery. As I say, her mother has passed, my partner has passed. But she now uses this practice in conflict resolution where she is working and where she is staying. The power of actually reflecting to someone what you actually hear them say enables them to feel heard and actually appreciated. And in a family, we so often forget to do that with each other. We're so busy with our own beliefs that we understand what the other people within that dynamic need from us, that we fail to actually ask them what they really need from us. And just that quiet space, that one-on-one space, that time to actually hear, see, feel, taste, and reflect, and be with that person where they actually currently are, enables that richness of understanding to grow. So I would recommend teaching empathy circles to children so that they can then hold their parents to account. Because being held to account by your child is very cathartic, very formative, and very painful. But sometimes the best things come out of a little bit of pain, and listening to comprehend rather than to compete with enables you to actually grow together. And that growing together, I think, wouldn't have happened without us actually using the reflective listening process. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that was amazing. I heard patterns. I heard pattern interruption. I heard specifically the patterns around traumas and tensions and the BS, the belief systems that we attach to those, and the impact of empathy circles on those patterns. The power of presence as a pattern interruption that allows us to develop those abilities of connection outside of our BS and belief systems.
That's basically what enabled us as father and daughter to actually become friends, rather than just I've got the power and you haven't got the power. Now we're equals, and that is a really beautiful thing I wouldn't have had without doing this process.
And the power and pain of teaching your children that. I am teaching my son. Here's the dance. I'm going to share this with everybody. Here's the dance he created so that we would understand the process, because he figured it out, right? So first you hear, but then you have to listen, which is going to help you understand so you can reflect it and circle it back on. Ooh, they're good. Teach it to the kids. 1000%. That's how you get a movement going. Dean, that was amazing. Another big breath, everybody. Oh, let that parasympathetic nervous system take on some more. Are we ready? We're going to bring up Daniel. Daniel Hirtz is a breathwork educator, drum circle facilitator, and empathy circle co-host whose 40 years of group practice have taught him to recognize the living energy that moves through people when they truly listen to each other. Today's topic is the living energy of empathy circles, naming what's already happening. Take it away, Dave.
All over the world, shamans and healers use the rattle to move the consciousness away from thinking into this sense, you know what I mean? So I want to invite you to feel into that, into the wholeness, the inclusiveness of all experience at this moment, and particularly the whole group. If you could, during my talk, if you want to switch to gallery view and look at the whole group, it's not about me, it's about the energy that flows between us. And while I cannot know what you feel, while that is exclusively your private space, I can, through my ability to feel into that space, sense, and to some degree, that you're also entering into the same space. I came to this topic because it keeps coming up in our empathy circles on Wednesday. It sort of seeps through again and again and again, the energy conversation. And people have shared that they, even before they arrive, coming from another Zoom meeting, they come to ours and they feel this feeling, this different sense, the arrival in a field that is totally accepting. And I think that's one of the qualities of the empathy circle that makes it completely different from most other human experiences. And I've done breath-related, rhythm and breath-related groups for decades in all kinds of settings, short, over weekends, and all because I noticed that I could do an individual practice by myself, and once I would do it with a group of people, the impact of it would be so tremendously amplified. And when I started with that, I had no idea about this. This was a pure observation. Now, of course, we all know this thing that the sum is more than, or the whole is more than the sum of the parts. And we heard about it, but what does it really mean? What is this really as a tangible experience, and what does it point to? And so, and Ingrid, who's also here today, she was with me in several of them when we are connecting in a group of people and we become, in a way, one. And that sensation of wholeness and of completeness and of being held in a peaceful space grows so strong that it turns into some sort of meaning. It informs us about life. And so, if you can feel this right now, I certainly can, then that points to the fact that something is going on that has nothing to do with geography or with where we are in the world, but that there is a wholeness that cannot be broken, that when it's pointed to from us here together, then we all can feel it. And so this energy, this mystical realm, the sensations, the feelings, if you put your hands like this and you feel into the space between your hands, you have a tingling. I do this with my seniors when I do drum classes, and they enjoy it. So we all know that that's there, but how much is it in our culture? And so while I was preparing for this talk, and I was very, very thankful, we had a couple of our empathy meetings around this topic, and then even on Thursday, I think we talked about it. And so I got some input from the people here. But then also, which is like, it's kind of always like that, right? Maybe I just haven't looked before, but it seems to me that right now there is all over the place this conversation about what flows between. No longer so much focused on the node, on the person, on the object, but on what flows between there, the warm data, that's how Nora Bateson is calling it, the flow between things. And even right now, Harvard and the Cancer Research Center at MD Anderson, they started an extensive project where they explicitly say we need to understand what this biofield energy healing is all about. We can no longer exclude it from our medical research, and started this phenomena project, which is an amazing project with all kinds of people from all kinds of disciplines looking at the topic of living energy. So I was very touched. I want to intersect this here by David's talk because it's my experience as well. And the profoundness of the simplicity of the empathy circles is just very impressive. It's a huge thing. And I think it is because it opens the door. It's like a door opener into a new space that we otherwise have entered to through other means, but in general, we have entered that space by sort of taking a pause from our social engagement. Because in general, when people are together in business, in their day-to-day lives and so on, the way we move with each other in our world here, in traffic and everything, is causing, in general, a tenseness, a tightness of everybody that's pretty continuous in our culture. So the human culture we live in has an impact on our personal energy system, and unless we stand up to that, the impact on us causes certain behaviors that ends up making us, competing with each other, fighting with each other, trying to make our point, and the whole 9 yards. And the root is actually sort of in the foundational body posture of this culture, if you know what I mean. So what normally happens is that, and I do that too, we want to retract from normal life. We want to take a vacation. We go to a retreat. We take personal time. We decompress, right? That's what we say. And yet, so that would mean in reverse that when we come together, it increases tensions. And that's where the empathy circle just really comes in as the crown jewel of human connection. Because here, those qualities, those more subtle qualities that are normally only sort of arising when we meditate, when we have quiet spaces, when we are in nature and like that, those qualities become tangible while we're speaking to each other. And while the process itself is profound, what becomes into our awareness is like, that's what I call this doorway. So I want to guide you for a moment into an awareness point. So let's do 3 deep sighs, an active inhale, and then just relax your exhale like this. And keep extending your exhale. Relax into that exhale. As you sort of descend into that exhale, become aware of the center of the earth. And that this exhale, the gravity that pulls downward, is actually going toward the center of the earth. And for a moment, feel that gentle pull that is there all the time, this little embrace of Mother Earth, this permanent embrace on all our cells and our whole being, this holding, what we call gravity. And the place it pulls us toward is the wholeness and the oneness that we can feel, if you allow that. So let's do another deep inhale. From that depth, you breathe in through the center of the earth all the way up through your whole system. Then release it all the way down again. Okay, here we go. To be in that space, in this awareness of that energetic flow between us with each other, in the space. In our in-person training in Santa Barbara, I particularly experienced that with such strength, like the same exact blissful wholeness that I experience when I'm in meditation. And that's exceptional. I want to capture that for a moment. That we actually are in a practice with each other, open-eyed, while we're speaking, while we're engaging in topics, while we're talking about what's important to us, while we are simple human beings. We love to talk to each other. And while we're doing this, an awareness arises that normally is exclusively there when we, when we're not in the talking space, and oftentimes when we're not together. So for me, this opens the door. It opens the door for an awareness that there is a field that we're participating in, and that's continuous, and it's never not there. And when we connect in this way, in some way it has an impact. It must be immediately into the whole field. That's what our intuition says, and that's what a lot of research is starting to point to, that meditators can actually reduce the tension in cities and prevent crime and things of that nature. And that is actually real time. It is not delayed. It is in the process. Every time we engage in this way, we sort of like, if you imagine that underneath the whole tension, we've reduced the whole tension of the world a little bit. And some person that wanted to raise their hand maybe doesn't. I want to end with this Ilya Prigogine quote, which I'm not sure if it's 100% correct, but still it made its rounds. When a complex system is far from equilibrium, and we are far from equilibrium in our society right now, small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to shift the entire system to a higher order. So maybe we can have that as an attitude and understanding in the background every time we get together and build this tremendous field of empathy. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. Did anybody else have like an entire body reaction to all of that, starting with the rattle and going through the breath work? I cannot think of a more perfect person to have at the we've been here for an hour, y'all. So at the end of this first hour, we just got to practice embodying and integrating everything that we've already just heard. Oh, thank you.
And let me say this, I'll send a document along with all the links to the research. I didn't want to fill this up with like all kinds of names and stuff. I will serve all of you with the links so that you can check it out, what I talked about.
Oh, I'm so excited because I am a science nerd, and I was absolutely like, yep, that's an epigenetic thing. Yep, that's the Maharishi effect, right? 1% of the community.
Right.
Oh, it's amazing, y'all. Absolutely go dive into that research to validate the experience that you just had. You don't need science to validate.
No. That's why I didn't do slides. I wanted to stay with, with the body. Thank you, everybody.
One more big breath, everyone. We are now launching our second hour of the Empathy Summit before we dive into our empathy circles and start practicing this wonderful thing that we've all been talking about. Next up is Kevin Waldman. Kevin is a clinical researcher, mental health professional, and founder of PsychForm Research Lab, focusing on developmental psychology, identity formation, and the psychological effect of performative behavior. Ooh, friend, you're talking all my favorite things. Let's get neurospicy. Today's topic is empathy circles, restore genuine connection in an age of performative empathy. Kevin, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just gonna get this going. Hi, good morning. My name is Kevin Waldman, and I'm the founder of PsychForm, which stands for Foundations of Reason and Meaning. And this is a research lab where I conduct, like you just heard, on identity, authenticity, and interpersonal behavioral work among mostly emerging adults on college campuses. I just want to say real quick how grateful I am to be exposed to all of these different beautiful perspectives and experiences. We all have such different paths, and yet here we are trying to learn and grow from each other, which is a really wonderful thing to be a part of. Ironically, my journey into empathy circles actually began through respectful disagreement. About a year ago, I wrote an opinion piece for the Chicago Tribune in which I used the phrase radical empathy. At the time, I was using the term largely as a rhetorical device, like a buzzword intended to make a broader point on a social and political discourse that I was experiencing on the campuses that I work with. After the article was published, Edwin reached out to me, and rather than responding to the political argument itself, he challenged me to think more carefully about the actual meaning of empathy. He encouraged me to consider empathy not as a slogan or as a political concept as I was using it, but as just the practice of the skill that can be cultivated itself, which is, of course, makes perfect sense in a perfect world. But that conversation ultimately led me here today. In my view, empathy has become one of the most frequently invoked and most poorly defined concepts in contemporary culture, particularly among young people. Now, I work primarily with emerging adults on campuses, so that population is going to be at the center of today's presentation. However, I do believe that this issue surrounding empathy extends far beyond higher education and can be observed across many areas of modern society. Since writing the article in the Tribune and through my research at PsychForm examining performative behavior and social conformity, I have become increasingly interested in a phenomenon that I now describe as, quote, performative empathy, which is a buzzword and which we must correct. We really must self-correct this phase. Performative empathy occurs when the appearance of empathy becomes more important than the practice of empathy itself. So when individuals signal understanding, compassion, or moral concern, without actually engaging in the difficult work of genuine understanding of another person's experience. So today I want to explore that distinction and discuss why empathy circles offer an important alternative, a space where empathy is not performed, but actually practiced. This is performative empathy. This is performative empathy. This is performative empathy. And this is performative empathy. So what do all of these internationally discussed examples of performative empathy have in common? They all are presented as acts of empathy, yet they are rooted in opposition, guided by social scripts rather than personal experience, and organized around social justice causes rather than direct human connection. Ultimately, the pattern may stunt development of empathy in emerging adults by replacing lived experience and genuine human understanding with ideological performance. This culture of performative empathy shows we have a true need to define empathy through interpersonal experience, not virtue signaling. Without this shift, we do risk a generation experiencing more anxiety, loneliness, and depression, despite being more quote unquote aware than ever. So the evidence is clear. Our current culture has created a gap between how empathy is talked about and how it is lived. That gap is hurting emerging adults, and it highlights the urgent need for empathy rooted in real human connection. In fact, how can empathy develop without human connection? Psychform's research suggests that many emerging adults are learning to perform beliefs rather than express them authentically. So when students report concealing their views, misrepresenting their beliefs, and avoiding honest disagreement, they are also limiting the interpersonal experience through which empathy develops. Empathy is not primarily a political stance like we see on campuses. It's a relational skill built through hearing another person's experience, understanding it, and responding to it. When social approval becomes more important than genuine curiosity, empathy shifts from interpersonal process into social performance. In this scene, performative empathy may represent the unintended consequences of the scripted social justice narrative, replacing authentic human connection. So the challenge facing emerging adults today may not be lack of concern for others, it may be a lack of opportunities to hear, understand, and connect with people whose experiences differ from their own. So we see these two very different outcomes. The culture we inhabit shapes the kind of empathy emerging adults are able to develop. The scripted or performative empathy is centered on ideology, rewards conformity, encourages signaling, discourages disagreement, and produces social caution and self-censorship, which often results in anxiety, isolation, and distrust. Now we see what hearing and understanding through empathy or empathy circles results in, which is centered on people rather than ideology. It rewards curiosity over conformity, encourages listening before judgment, welcomes different perspectives, and builds trust and authentic connection. This creates conditions that are necessary for empathy to develop, because empathy develops through understanding, not through scripts. So the problem is that the scripted environments which I work with stifle empathy. By dissent is viewed as harmful or disloyal. Students feel pressured to conform to approved beliefs and language. Speaking up risks judgment, exclusion, or social backlash. Students learn to stay silent instead of seeking understanding, and empathy becomes a performance, not a human connection. So when dissent is punished and scripts are required, empathy cannot grow. The solution is to create environments where empathy can develop, a structured, neutral space where every person is heard. People share experiences, not positions. Listening is the goal, not agreement. Respectful dialogue replaces fear and performance, and understanding grows through real human connection. Empathy develops when students listen, speak honestly, and seek to understand one another. The path forward, in my opinion, is to implement empathy circles into college curricula. Emerging adulthood is a critical period for identity formation, perspective taking, emotional development, and social growth. If empathy develops through hearing, understanding, and engaging with experiences different from our own, colleges must create opportunities for students to practice those skills. Empathy circles provide a developmental intervention. They encourage students to listen, speak honestly, tolerate discomfort, and engage with perspectives they may not encounter within their existing social networks. From a developmental perspective, empathy is not acquired through information alone, it develops through human interaction. As colleges continue to prioritize student well-being, identity development, and psychological growth, empathy circles should become a core part of psychology curricula and student development programming. If we're serious about supporting the psychological development of emerging adults, we must create environments where empathy can be practiced, not simply discussed. So I see this as restoring human connection. We create a space where empathy circles create intentional judgment-free spaces for honest dialogue. Participants learn or listen actively and with curiosity to understand, not to respond. Hearing diverse stories fosters perspective taking, compassion, and emotional connection. Genuine understanding reduces and builds trust across differences, and individuals feel seen, valued, and connected to themselves and to others. So in a world of distraction and disconnection, empathy circles provide a simple, powerful path back to what we need most: authentic human understanding and presence. Thank you.
Ooh, everybody take another big breath. Kevin, that was fantastic. What I heard there, you had me at the acronym Foundation of Reason and Meaning. Brilliant. I heard performative empathy versus practicing empathy. I heard rooted in opposition versus engaging in human experience. I heard not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. Empathy develops in relationships with another when in conflict, authentically sharing those lived experiences, even if those experiences differ. What I hear in that is empathy circles support being able to navigate tension with composure. Mm, mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you are doing, the schools you are doing it, and the lives that you are impacting.
Thank you so much. And I really, really love that I've become a part of this group. So thank you again. I do have to take off now, but thank you so much for including me today.
Thank you for coming, and we will see you again soon.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna say bye, Kevin. Big wave. Little jazz fingers for him. Love it. All right. Now we have Mahib. Mahib is a psychologist, meditation teacher, and former lawyer dedicated to helping people feel more connected to themselves, to their partners, and to something deeper. Today, we're going to hear about empathy circles as a core intervention in couples therapy.
Thank you so much, Cara, for introducing, and thank you so much, everyone, for having me here. I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and it's so nice to see so many people. I want to share my experience of providing couples therapy and using the structure of empathic listening in it. So I want to share how it felt like from a provider's point of view, from a psychologist's point of view. And then I also want to share experiences of my clients, like some things that they experience and like a couple of quotes. First, I want to start with how I came to it. I was in Santa Barbara, so I got exposed to the practice while I was in my training period, and I was already a person-centered therapist, so I was already using the ideas from Rogerian approach. So it was home for me anyways, and then I got to meet more people who. Then I got to meet. Oh, I hear something. Sorry. Who were practicing it, and once I went through the process of empathic listening, the facilitator trainings, like I got really good at what I was already doing. And then around the same time, I had few couples, and I took this approach into that work. Before using this as a structure, I was using mostly psychodynamic approach, and I was noticing that I was carrying a lot of emotional weight for my clients because I was joining them in the treatment. I was becoming part of their family, and then through joining, I was treating. So I would go home with a lot of weight of like what they're experiencing, which still does happen. However, one big change that I noticed right after introducing empathic listening structures is for the couple was I could, as a provider, was feeling more relaxed. I was like, oh, I trained these two now. They can just talk to each other. I'm mostly tracking the time. Maybe when they go off here and there, I would interfere and like correct them or like, no, this is how you reflect. So maybe sometimes I was engaging, but mostly I could just sit back and relax. So that was great. As a provider, especially when couples therapy can be really charged, it can be exhausting. So I was able to take on more couples because I had more energy left in my system. So that's one good thing about having some really solid structure, which creates safety for them. Now the benefits for them was like they were feeling safe. Another huge benefit that came up was like there was always one partner speaks more, one partner wants to share more, the other one is the quiet person. It just it happens that way almost in every couple. There's one that this way, the other is the other way. Because of this time distribution, they both got to have the same time, same amount of space during that 1 hour of therapy session, and they were both happy. Especially the one who was not getting the chance to speak. Now I had something like, okay, time's up, tables have to turn, you have to listen now, and your partner will share. So I started enjoying that process. And then there's a quote I want to share, like right after the first session when I trained this couple into this technique, the wife said like, oh my God, I have never felt so heard by my husband in my whole life. They have been married for 10 years. So like, this is like just one session, and she never felt that depth, that amount of like deeply heard and understood by her partner who has been married to her for 10 years. I was like, wow, now this is gold. So this is how I started getting more happy, like energized by the process. And I kept on growing it in different ways. Now there is I had to tweak it because I had to create questions for them. So I came up with, when if I leave it just to them, they might go into like tangents or directions that might not be productive. So along with the empathic structure, like this listening structure, some questions were very important. That, for example, what is your love language? I give them questions, they explore, and I sit back and relax. So like, what helps you make feel loved or seen or valued in a relationship? So they're exploring it, and they go to the depth. For the first time, they understand, oh, that's what my wife was needing. Oh, that's what my husband was actually expecting. I didn't never understood it. Another question: what are some significant childhood experiences that I have had, and how they show up in my current relationship? Such a simple question. It's psychodynamic therapy based question. They get to tell their partner what happened, how their upbringing was, childhood was, and how it's showing up in the relationship. So they explore it for the whole hour. And again, I'm just facilitating, and they just get deeper and deeper and deeper. More memories come up, more insights come up, and they connect like, oh my God, we have the same kind of shitty childhood experience, or same kind of like difficult traumatic experiences. That's why we feel so connected. That's why we came together. So they are able to connect at such a deep level. Another question is like, what are my hopes and dreams? What's my ideal relationship? What do I want to create out of this marriage or out of this relationship? I just leave them with the question, and then they get to such depths and understand, and they get to have clarity. Oh, this is where we are going. So often they have expecting like, no, this is how I want to do parenting. This is how I want to make money, or this is how I want to plan vacations. They both have their own ideas, but because of this kind of questioning and exploring together, and actually listening to the other person, and not just listening to their own thinking, or not just reacting to the image they hold of their partner, they end up really listening to the real human being who's married to them. Then they come to the alignment of like their goals they had internally, unconsciously come to a same page. Now they have shared goals. They are working towards the same goal together because now they have actually heard and understood the other person. So these are some like really exciting experiences, and I just keep doing it. And then it was hard, honestly, at the beginning, because some people were like not getting it. Some people don't want to do it. Some people could revert back to their default. So I've been doing it for 2.5 years now. So now, because of those issues, I started like implementing like, this is what I do. If you want to work with me, the first step is you have to get trained in empathic listening. For the first 5 sessions, that's all we are going to do. Then we can just roam around, do other things, but let's create the structure first. So now the latest couple I just saw for just 6 sessions, and I just discharged them very successfully. They got so much done, and it was just 6. I gave them these questions, and I completed the whole kind of program or their target goals. Their communication got better, their well-being got better, their understanding got better, their conflicts about, do we want to have kids, do we not want to have kids, or your parents hate me, no, your parents are worse towards me, like whatever was happening for them, they were able to come to the same page and actually understand why it's happening and how they can actually care for their own needs while caring for the partner's needs at the same time without discounting anything. Wow, we can hold both the things at the same time. Oh, that's easy. I can listen to my own thoughts, and I can also listen to my partner's thoughts at the same time. So they are getting to this higher place. I think Daniel mentioned, they are getting to the spacious awareness where they can just be present with themselves and also their partners. Okay, one more thing that I interfere in teach them is mindfulness. So I also ask them, how are you feeling in your body? And then they share that in the empathic circles also, that they're checking in. And then I give them homework. Okay, you can, even if you're not seeing me, that's one big benefit as a provider, because I don't want them to be dependent on me, which was happening in the previous styles. Now they can take this technique home. One of them can keep track of the time, and they just every Sunday morning empathic listening for 1 hour during breakfast. And that's like their routine, and they don't need me there. That's the biggest, because I feel from person-centered, as a person-centered therapist, when you fire your therapist, that's the biggest reward for the therapist. You don't need me, you can just do it on your own. So, and how much time do I have now? I
You
think I have.
still have like 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I also feel free to interrupt me and ask me questions. I didn't think about like what's the style or the presentation style over here, but if you have questions, please interrupt me. But I can share one more thing that I'm noticing is now it's not just impacting their relationship, their well-being as a couple. What happens is, as a result of this improvement, this growth, their home environment is changing. They are becoming more and more uh, empathic, loving, and caring, which so the parents' relationship directly impacts the child development. So that's just like a side bonus. Like the kids are getting this healthy parents who are so loving towards one another, who have really good assertive communication, who are who are aware of themselves, and who know how to express difficult feelings, who know how to resolve conflicts. So the child is seeing all this. That automatically takes care of so much. So what I'm seeing is I've never even met the kids, but I know just because of this work that the couple is doing, they are, of course, getting better themselves, but it's creating an environment where the child is getting the best possible, environment to grow in and become a really uh, well-rounded human being. So just a side effect, amazing bonus, which children are the future of our society. So I'm like, wow, I get to do my work that I love, plus impact not just the clients, but their kids, and eventually our whole society. So that's one thing. I see some chat, so I'm going to look at it if there are questions.
How can we scale this up so more therapists do it? I'll read some of the questions.
Good question. So I would say I'm thinking of creating more like a program out of it, so I can record what I'm doing, like a coaching program where I can leave these questions or prompts that I've developed from my experience. Like, these are the questions you ask. This is the training. And maybe meeting them once or twice, at least, to train them in empathic circles. And then this is a 8-week program in which you do these things. So I think I will develop that at some point. And maybe that can be shared with either therapists, or also it can be shared with like couples who want to do a self-directed course. Instead of, if they don't have time or money to join a therapy, they can follow a program in which they will learn these skills. So that's one way to expand it and share it with others. Okay, another question.
Another
Do you have
question.
background? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll read it so you can stay present.
Yes.
Do you have a background in conflict resolution or transformation, and how is this new approach informed by it?
Okay, so before being a psychologist, I was a lawyer in India, and I did do conflict arbitration, conciliation, a little bit training here and there. So I do have some of that, but mostly I have experience from my therapy work. I think couples are the most intense people who can bring up the most really horrifying conflicts to the room. Maybe, I don't know. So I think navigating that itself is good enough for me, as has given me a good experience. And
How
then,
do you feel about using this before getting married?
oh, of course. I mean, half of my clients are not married. So some are married, like maybe at least right now, 3 of them are not even married. But or the couple who I just saw recently, they were not married. You use the skill to come to the conclusion, okay, do we have kids or not? La, la, la. They had this conversation. Now they are getting closer to marriage. But this worked as a great skill to like learn each other deeply before they make the next step.
Oh, I agree. Okay. Any last comments going up into the chat? Could you talk about why it is so important for clients to internalize these skills and use them independently rather than relying on the therapist? You touched on it. Talk a little more on that.
It is important because often clients, especially couples, one of the core problems is codependency. So where a therapist joins, they become dependent on the therapist. So often it's like instead of two people, now it's a triangle of, and then they keep on going for years and years. The couples therapy becomes just part of their lifestyle, which is maybe good. They are making good progress slowly here and there. I'm sure. I'm not poo-pooing on it. However, in my point of view, as a person-centered therapist, I would like to be in charge of my life. And as a person, I want to be in control of, like, this is my more independent feeling. So sometimes, I want to see therapy as like, okay, when I'm really going through a difficulty, I will go and get support. Just like we get fever, go to the doctor, get treatment for those 3 weeks, and then get out of it. Get your homeostasis, and then get self-reliant, and then live your life. Get sick again, go get your support system. So I don't want therapy to become, this is my personal opinion, an ongoing thing, all for the rest. So there are people who are going to therapy from childhood to end of life. Maybe coaching can be something like that. Maybe you're improving self-growth. Is there some other goals to change? But if it's only focused on symptoms, then I see that as a problem. If it's focused on self-growth and other things, if it becomes something else like a spiritual coaching, or you're getting training, or you're becoming therapist yourself, if it's serving that purpose, like I encourage therapists to go to therapy because it's part of their development as in the profession. So you can go for the rest of your life because you're also growing in a different way, but not to make it as a crutch. That is problematic.
Yes. Just lots more support in the comments, so take a chance to read those. Here's what I heard. I absolutely use empathy in my relationship. This community has been beneficial in that space, because otherwise I will coach them. I feel like as a therapist, it would fall in that same way. You start there, and that we didn't get their consent to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it so beautifully. What happens when you do that is you join in their experience and you start carrying the weight of that to kind of relieve them of it, rather than facilitating their ability to embody their own experience. Yeah. And the power of rebalancing the conversation so everybody gets a chance to talk and a chance to listen. I tried really hard not to snort laugh out loud because I forgot to mute, but I seen that in my life. Yeah. And what I heard in this was understanding before agreement, really getting to that place where the structure allows for that freedom to understand each other, to realize that there can be two things that are mutually inclusive and still different, and that's possible. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for the work that you are doing and for bringing it to share here with us.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Another big breath. We're doing it here in this room and out in the world, and together collectively changing it all. Well done. It is now my pleasure to bring on Larry Lawhorn. Larry is an empathy circle facilitator and trainer, and a long-term host of the Empathy Weekly Empathy Circle series at empathymatters.org. I'm going to say that again, empathymatters.org. And today, Larry is going to talk on active listening and empathy. Take it away,
Larry. All right, I'm hoping I was able to post something into the chat. I'm not 100% sure if it works. I'll do it one more time. Message, enter. I think that worked. Okay, glad to be here. Glad to see all the wonderful people who have been bringing empathy circles to the world, so to speak. And I kind of think of empathy like planting seeds, like we're all gardeners. We're all planting seeds of empathy. And the seeds we're planting are in the neurons that fire together and wire together. We're all planting seeds in our mind that we can happily share. I heard that said today. Someone was so happy to bring empathy circles, empathy, to share. It's a joyful feeling to share something that you yourself value as authentic. All right, so I'm going to share the slides. I actually started working on these slides way back in December. And of course, they've grown like seeds over the years. So I'm just going to cover a few of the slides. And they're on the website. All of the slides are on the website. empathymatters.org/AL for active listening. I know it looks like AI, but it's actually AL. So active listening as a way of life. Carl Rogers coined the term active listening in 1957 by focusing on and validating another person's perspective. Active listening helps build empathy. Simultaneously, this focused empathic process strengthens the prefrontal cortex role in reasoning and emotional regulation, while also diminishing the amygdala's fight or flight response. Now that's a lot, right? That's a lot. The takeaway message that I want to leave is, as we practice focusing empathically on a human being, we're using our prefrontal cortex. And as we do that, our amygdala automatically relaxes. And vice versa. It's like a seesaw. If the amygdala hijack goes up, prefrontal cortex automatically goes down. So there you can see where your agency is. What seeds are you planting in your garden? And each of us is a gardener of our own reality. Active listening allows for a shared understanding of another person's thoughts and feelings, which builds empathy and validates their experience. This can help calm the amygdala. However, and it's a big however, in authoritarian trained brains, think of a world at war since Babylon, as Marshall Rosenberg pointed out. In authoritarian trained brains, the same region of our brain that produces empathy is actually overlapped neurologically with a completely different response. And that response is the one we commonly know as disgust. I wholeheartedly encourage everyone to check this out. It was amazing to me when I read about this a few months ago, that our brain can literally be hijacked by our culture, by our environment, so that our empathy, by authoritarian control, literally turns to feelings of disgust. So I'm not going to go deep into this. It's in the slides, it's on the website, Active Listening, on Empathy Matters. I'm going to jump now to move this screen so I can see where I'm going to jump to. 11. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Empathy does not begin with speaking. Empathy begins with listening. Empathy begins with calm curiosity. Empathy begins when someone quietly wonders, what is it like to be you? And I love this quote by Marshall Rosenberg. He did what I call flipping the script, where he took the old saying that's used to make people feel guilty in order to motivate them. Hey, don't just stand there, do something. And he flipped it. He says, hey, don't just do something, stand there. And that is the essence of empathy, is being willing to be still, to listen. Right? Krishnamurti, observation is the highest form of human intelligence, without judgment, without evaluation. And then I'll wrap it up with one of my favorite quotes by Gus Speth. I used to think that top global environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address these problems. But I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with these, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists don't know how to do that. Gus Speth, a scientist. So am I hearing you have any concerns about the seeds you're planting in your garden? Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. One of my favorite things of doing empathy circles with Larry is that Larry says, I love empathy circles, almost the end of every single one of them. And you know what, Larry? We love you. Yeah, that's a thing. I heard active listening as a life skill with empathy and a built-in empathy practice in there. I'm going to do the science in a weird, twisted way. This is what I heard there, is that the adult in your brain, the frontal cortex, gets to work with that internal teenager, the amygdala, rather than at them. And anybody who has ever worked with or at teenagers can understand exactly what the difference in that is. And the power of that, of looking at the brain science and what empathy can do internally, is it supports creating a relationship of support and agency within your own brain. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone.
All right. We're going to bring up Terry next. Terry, I'm going to try to do this last name because I tried one earlier and I messed it up, so I'm not doing that. Terry is a vagal toning and empathy circle facilitator, writer, poet, and intuitive composer who creates spaces that support connection, resilience, and embodied presence. And today, Terry is going to talk on the synergy of empathy circles and vagal toning. Go get it. More science. I'm in.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm Terry McGovern, and I consider myself a practitioner of the yoga of sound. And empathy circles is a big part of that. So for my time, I'm going to share a brief polyvagal perspective on why I like to bring empathy circles and vagal toning together as a practice. And then I'll offer us a practice if people would like to experience that. So let me just get my slide up. All right. So vagal toning is a nervous system care practice. It's informed by polyvagal theory. And this is a theory that basically suggests that our nervous systems are always responding to cues of safety and threat internally in our environment. And these responses influence our state. So we're going to have a different perception, emotions, different behavior, depending on which pathway in our nervous system is lighting up. And I chose this slide so you can see there's these three branches. The green one is our ventral vagal. That's our social engagement nervous system. And you can see it goes from the heart to the face, the vocal area, and the ear. And so that's that part of our nervous system, autonomic nervous system. And then there's a sympathetic branch. That's that yellow branch down the spine. And then the dorsal vagal, and that's the red pathway that goes in the face as well, also down to the heart and all the organs. And so I'm not going to talk like a ton about all this, but just to emphasize, we have a social engagement nervous system. And another thing I love about polyvagal theory is that it suggests that our nervous systems are always shaping each other's experience because we inherently respond to cues of safety and threat. So in an empathy circle, our nervous systems detect a lot of cues of safety, attuned listening, authentic speaking, curious and non-judgmental expressions, predictable boundaries, warm vocal tones. And as we receive all these cues and layers throughout the circle process, our social engagement nervous system becomes more active. And then defensive responses tend to soften. And this can be experienced in our body as like deep connection, a sense of warmth, ease, hope, vitality, oneness, all of that becomes more available. So just like we can intentionally offer each other cues of safety and empathy circles, we can also support our social engagement nervous system through vagal toning practices like poetry, sounds that we might make, breath, movement, touch, sensory awareness. And so I really like to begin empathy circles with vagal toning practice because then I feel like I'm getting that benefit of, softening defensive responses and making my social engagement system more available. And this often will support for me a deeper experience of attunement and warmth in the circle. So another thing is information in our vagal pathway flows 80% body to brain and 20% brain to body. So it makes sense to me that some people might really notice that vagal toning prior to the empathy circle helps them deepen connection to self and others. All right, so since repeated practice can strengthen our social engagement system, I want to offer an opportunity to experience this together. So the rest of my time will be a practice, and I'm going to share a poem and just guide us through some practices that support communication between our body and brain, and just release areas of the jaw, face, and scalp that can often tighten with stress to open up that social engagement pathway so we can maybe have more of an impact through it in our empathy circle. Okay, so I just invite you to take a comfortable seat or stand or lay down or get wherever you feel like you are most happy and easeful. And just as I want to share for anything that I offer, it's optional. A big part of any practice, I think, is choice. That's what establishes that agency. So if something isn't landing for you or you just want to do your own practice that you already have and love, that's totally welcome and encouraged by me. And I'll begin with this poem by Rumi. Let the beauty we love be what we do. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. There are 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the earth. Let the beauty we love be what we do. Let the beauty we love be what we do. Let the beauty we love be what we do. Let the beauty we love be what we do. So I'll just leave a few moments for that to wash over you, and you might like to notice state, feeling of your face, the pace of your breath. Body sensations, thoughts swirling. And then if you'd like to come into this next practice with me, a little bit of havening practice, you might just take your fingers and begin to interact with your social engagement system by offering it this gentle, soothing touch. And letting go of ideas of like achievement. There's not something to fix or perfect, but simply welcoming yourself as you are with everything that you're carrying. And attuning to yourself, offering this touch at a place, in a pace, a depth that appeals to your own senses. So maybe bringing this to the bridge of your nose out across your cheeks. You could also do arms, legs, feet. Letting it feel good. Perhaps shoulders down to elbows, like you would pet a cat, just one direction. And then if you'd like to bring this into this upper circuit of your vagus nerve, the eyes, just maybe beginning by greeting your eyes. You might want them open or closed. If they're open, you could choose to gaze upon something that brings you a sense of warmth or an experience of beauty. Or if they're closed, just letting them rest. Perhaps this is a moment to offer them gratitude for all that they are fielding for you, and maybe just gentle, smoothing, soothing touches, perhaps coming underneath on top of the ridge of the cheek and just softening in towards your eyes with your fingers. Maybe giving light circles over the temples. And as you do this, perhaps really sensing and feeling underneath your fingertips, through the tissues of your skin, perhaps to the muscles around your eyes. What are you noticing in terms of sensation? And letting your movements be connected into that so that you're following what sensations feel good. Perhaps bringing your fingertips to the inner edges of your eyebrows and offering circles here. In traditional Chinese medicine, this is an acupressure point where nervous system interaction becomes more available, and it's considered a point to brighten the eyes, to restore energy. So noticing how this feels for you. Any sighs or sounds that come available are welcome. And if you'd like to move on, perhaps to this other part of your face, maybe just bringing your fingertips, sliding down from the ridge of the nose and offering this point sensory awareness, facial receptivity, I think you can call it, to your cheeks. So this is about sensing and feeling and awakening the empathy system of your face, where you may feel emotion or where you may express emotion or express receptivity. So offering yourself receptivity in these moments, sensing and feeling beneath your fingers and not trying to fix or force or change anything, just receiving through touch the message of your own face. Perhaps smoothing fingers all along the cheekbone out towards the jaw, and maybe some circles over the TMJ here. And maybe some raking down through that masseter muscle at the back of the jaw. Circles over the angle of the jaw if you like that. Maybe some sounds coming out there. And you can offer yourself this next point if you want to. This is a releasing grief point. So maybe letting go of anything accumulated that feels heavy, or just a small part of it. If it's big, if it's large, that could be very relatable. So this one is just the size of the nostrils and then fingers underneath the cheekbone. And I really love to get the whole side of my finger up under the cheekbone there, but you can experiment what feels good to you. You might like to hold a point. You might like to gently make contact and then release. Sensing and feeling what's there for you. And then maybe just smoothing underneath the cheekbone all the way back. Kind of using the bone and your fingers there to feel through those tissues. Coming back to the area below the jaw joint. Maybe some more circles there, or just holding points. And then I'll just offer a moment to pause, perhaps, and sense and feel your face, your heart, your breath. You might notice some shifts, subtle or not so subtle, in your state. Maybe a perspective shift, or just feeling easier to be present. And if you'd like to do this next one with me, I'll guide us to just take our fingers, and you might want to kind of wiggle them around and, maybe spritz them out, get them ready for some action. And then if you want to do this, you can take your fingers and come into the area right above your cheekbone. And I just lost my microphone. I'm going to switch microphones.
You're still coming in clear.
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, we're fine. Right above your cheekbone, and then just rake your fingers through your temporalis muscle here. And as you do this, you might like to open and close your jaw. And just notice what's here for you. There could be tension or areas of soreness. So as you rake your fingers up through the temporalis, you might find that you get into that layer of tissue under the skin, and you're just able to anchor it up. And then you can open your jaw and stretch that out. You might like to go through it with a little more movement. And just noticing what feels good for you as you do this. Maybe you want to bring in a sound. Letting that sound feel like it comes from your heart to your voice, face, ears, and it's a sound that brings you pleasure. Not about sounding good, but just liking the vibration of the sound in your own body. Perhaps sending to the sound to an area of tension. Maybe allowing a sigh. A vocal slide, kind of. Going up. Maybe a little bit more all around your whole scalp, kind of loosening up that thinking cap. Letting that energy flow throughout the system. Maybe a little head hold. Placing a hand on your nape of your neck, a hand on your forehead, and perhaps offering yourself light through your hands, color, maybe more sound. You might want to bring in a humming, like a and just feel the vibrations in your head. You might experiment with where you place your tongue as you do this. If you want to switch hands, that can be helpful. Letting your lips lightly touch with your hum. And at the end, let your tongue gently, lightly float up to the roof of your mouth and feel the vibrations move through your head, maybe up to the top. Receiving this input, adjusting and recalibrating so that the cues you're offering yourself feel yummy for you, feel like warmth, like ease. And then maybe if you'd like to go to the next, taking your fingers to your ears, and you can hold your tragus here. It's that little flap of skin that if you touched it, it would close your eardrum. Just maybe holding there. Maybe give it a little squeeze. Perhaps some circles in the concha, the basin of the ear. And then last practice, maybe just a little bit of head circles. Like you're going to draw a circle on the ceiling, one way and then the other. And one last moment to notice maybe just a little bit of shoulders up, back, and down. One last moment to notice face. You might notice temperature, warmth, body sensations, breath. And maybe just a moment to get ready to transition back to the empathy circle. I thank you for your practice. Thank you for practicing with me and look forward to continuing our practice together.
Oh, let's take a little extra breath to just come back together. That was impactful. Thank you, Terry. Wow. I love that we had integration embodiment practices at the top of each of these hours. What a great way to allow our nervous system to take this in and be with it. I would love to hear people's experience in the chat so we can share that with Terry and she can take a look at that. I know I had to turn my microphone down because I was yawning and humming and a whole breakthroughs. That was, for me, fabulous. I would love to hear what y'all's experience was. And we'll do that while I pass the wand on over to Miss Janna again, and she's going to take us through a video on our empathy circle so that we can go and practice what we've been talking about. Take it away, Janna.
Okay, so we've reached the top of the hour, and we're about to enter the empathy circle. So if you've done the training and can facilitate an empathy circle, please add ECF to your name. And then we will be recording some of the empathy circles. So if you do not want to be recorded in an empathy circle, please add NR, which is no record, after your name. And there's a PDF, how to empathy circle, how to participate in a basic empathy circle in the chat. So what I just shared is in the chat. And thank you, Kara, and thank you, everyone, for an extraordinary 2 hours of incredible presentations and relaxation and awareness. Welcome to an opportunity to experience an empathy circle. I always hesitate to say that this is the fun part of the summit because we just had this extraordinary experience, but this is the interactive part where we all get to be heard. So welcome to the Empathy Summit Empathy Circle. Thank you, Edwin. Thank you, Kara, Jonathan, and the whole Empathy Summit team and community. So so I'm going to play this video, and let's see here. This will take a moment, and hopefully you can hear it. Here we go. Turn up my sound.
I'm Edwin Rudge, founding director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. I'd like to welcome you to this short presentation on how to take part in a basic empathy circle. So next, let's look at the step-by-step how to take part. An empathy circle starts with 2 to 7 participants. Here on the screen, we have 4 participants, which I find is an ideal number. There are 4 basic roles, and the roles rotate among the participants as the empathy circle unfolds. 1, the speaker, is the first person to speak. 2 is active listener who actively listens to the speaker. There's the silent listeners, they quietly observe and witness. And the facilitator who organizes, schedules, and hosts the circle. They also do the timekeeping, and they have some experience with the process and help keep participants in the process. However, everyone has the responsibility to hold the process and the practice. So to begin with, the facilitator will start the empathy circle. They welcome the participants. They lead introductions if the participants don't know each other. The facilitator invites participants to give short introductions, for example, their name, where they're from, and something personal about themselves. The facilitator then reviews the empathy circle process to remind everyone how it works. They announce the discussion topic, if there is one. Even if there is a topic, you can always talk about what is alive for you. That is, what is on your mind in the moment. And 5, they set the speaker time limits, perhaps 5 minutes, for example. And the facilitator then asks who would like to start to be the first speaker. So at that point, the participant volunteers to be the first speaker. As speaker, you select who will be your active listener, and you can select anyone that you want. You speak about the topic given or whatever is alive for you. And so you'll speak a bit until you have maybe expressed an idea or two. And then you want to pause to give the active listener a chance to recap what they understand that you are saying and feeling. If you say too much, the listener may have difficulty in reflecting it. As the active listener, you are listening to the speaker to get an understanding of what they're saying and what is important to them. You are giving them your full attention as a supportive companion on their inner journey and exploration. When the speaker pauses, you recap your understanding of what they said and how they feel by reflecting the essence of that in your own words. You can summarize, paraphrase, or even say the speaker's words back to them. Even though you may have a strong impulse to respond with your own ideas, judgments, analysis, advice, and sympathy, or even questions, resist the impulse to do so because these common responses block the speaker from moving along their internal journey. you'll be able to say whatever you want when it is your turn to be the speaker. If you don't reflect the understanding to the speaker's satisfaction, they can always say it again. Then, as speaker, you check, do you feel understood to your satisfaction? If you do not feel understood, you can say it again, perhaps in different words. If you do feel understood, continue sharing. Again, after speaking a bit, pause to give your active listener a chance to recap their understanding of what you said. As the active listener, you again share your understanding of what the speaker said and meant. The cycle of speaking and reflecting continues until you, as the speaker, do not have anything else you'd like to say, or until you get a signal from the timekeeper. If you get a signal from the timekeeper, then finish up what you're saying in a sentence or two. After you get a final reflection, you can end your turn by saying something like, "I feel fully heard," or something like that to indicate you are done with your speaking turn. At that point, the roles then rotate. The active listener becomes the speaker. The person they select becomes the new active listener. For everyone having equal time, it is good to select someone that hasn't spoken lately, but it is your choice. The others in the circle become the silent listeners. This process of taking turns in speaking and active listening continues for whatever time is allotted for the empathy circle. And this was just a very short introduction. The best way to learn the practice is taking part and doing it. There is more in-depth material on taking part in an empathy circle and facilitating one at empathycircle.com. Thank you for listening.
Okay. So let's see. So that's how to take part in an empathy circle. If you're new, and if you're not, it's a reminder. And we're now going to let's see here. Edwin is making the breakout rooms, and I'll share the topic in the chat. To empathy circle, we have that already, I think. And so here we go. What are your ideas and projects for building the empathy movement is the suggested topic. But of course, you can talk about whatever is in your heart and mind, whatever is alive for you. Feel free to share. Let's see, what else? When we're done, we will return to the main room for a debrief. And also, please take note when you go into your breakout room what room number you were assigned to, because sometimes Zoom might throw you out, and that way Kara, who's sitting in the main room, can put you back where you were and you can continue the same conversation. And please enjoy understanding with the empathy circle. So you have the suggestions. Edwin, are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready. And the
When
first,
are we coming back?
Right, at 10 after the hour. So we have 1 hour for the circle. That's good. Thanks for that, Daniel. Room number 1, Janna, you'll be facilitating. Room number 2, Bill. Room number 4 is Ingrid, and room number 5 is Daniel, if that works for you all. Yeah, since no objections heard, then we're off to our room, and there should be about 5 people or 6 per room. So see you all back here in an hour.
This
is the recorded room. Yep.
All right, I'll keep track of the time. And how many minutes? 3 minutes, we said. 3 minutes. Here we go. And So who would like to be the first listener and who would like to be the first speaker? Since all of us have experience here. Selene, would you like to be the first listener? Sure. And Jillian, we haven't heard you yet today. Would you like to be the first speaker?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think the question was something about your ideas for building the empathy movement. And so I'll start with that. I'm a PhD student at Indiana University, Bloomington in psychology and cognitive science, and I study things like morality and viewpoint diversity.
Okay, thanks for pausing. So I hear that you are going to address building an empathy movement, how to build an empathy movement. You're a PhD student in psychology, and I didn't get the last part.
Cognitive science.
Say again?
Cognitive science.
Okay, I got it. Cognitive science. Wonderful.
Thanks. Yeah. So I guess I try to approach empathy and building the empathy movement because I love empathy. I love studying it. Trying to build it by getting at the core mechanisms of empathy and what works with empathy and what doesn't, what's performative or not, kind of like Kevin was talking about.
So you love empathy, love the idea of the empathy movement, and your focus is on the core mechanism of the empathy circle process, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I work on depolarization and helping people bridge divides, especially politically, but could be based on other kind of divides too. And I find empathy to be an important part of this process, but it's like you have to do the empathy right. If you just kind of force people into conversations they don't want to be in, it's harder to reach that. So I'm trying to see what works well with empathy circles.
So your focus a lot is on depolarization, on bridging divides, and for you, empathy is an important part of this process and project, and it has to be done right, or it will not work.
Yeah, exactly. And being in academia, there's a lot of stuff, as a lot of you know, out right now about against empathy or dark sides of empathy. And so I want to help build the empathy movement within academia as well by showing what I think true or real empathy is and distinguishing from some of those more negative kinds of empathy.
Okay, so you say that in academia, there's a lot of energy against empathy, and you want to show what real empathy is.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I feel heard.
Thank you. Okay. So, who would be my listener?
You pick your listeners, Selene.
Okay. Um, I have not been thinking a lot about the larger picture of the empathy movement and building an empathy movement.
You're speaking to me? Who are you speaking to?
Oh, I thought I was.
Okay, all right. So you haven't thought much about building an empathy movement and about the bigger picture.
And my challenge, whenever I have offered, or not whenever, but sometimes when I have offered doing an empathy circle or with a particular group, is an unwillingness, I think, to commit that time.
And one, I guess, obstacle that you've encountered when you offer to do an empathy circle with a group is the unwillingness to commit the time.
And I get disheartened by that because I think people so easily will invest an hour in things that I think don't offer the same quality of return, put it that way.
Okay, and I don't recall exactly what word, but you get a little discouraged by that because you think that we might be spending our time in something that doesn't bring as much return.
So I practice in individual situations and hoping at some point somebody will say, wow, I feel so heard. How did you learn to do that? And then it opens up the door.
And so you practice in individual one-on-one conversations, and you're just kind of hoping and waiting that somebody might notice what you're doing and would then say, oh, where did you learn that? And how can I learn to do that? Waiting for the invitation.
Yeah. And personally, as you may notice, I have a very slow pace, and I always have. And it's one of the many ways in which I don't fit.
And you're sharing that you have a slow pace and that you always have had a slow pace and that it's one of the ways that you don't fit.
Yes. So I wish I were offering suggestions and great ideas, but right now I'm just warming up to how to create the best campaign.
So you're not full of suggestions and ideas, and you're kind of apologizing for that, but you're just warming up and start reflecting. You're going to start reflecting on how to best create the best campaign.
Thank you. I feel fully heard. Thanks, Jen.
Movement, sure. Mahib, would you like to listen to me?
Sure.
Well, I just want to say, like Larry always does, I love empathy circles.
You may see that you're feeling the wow and love for empathy circles.
Yeah, the presentations were absolutely awesome.
The presentations were awesome.
Yeah, you want me to say more? You're a psychologist, you're used to more.
I can handle more.
It's okay, you can reflect that.
Sorry. So you're thinking like, oh, do I say more? You're a psychologist. You might be used to more.
Yeah, I'm going to share that I grew up with a father who didn't listen so well.
You want to share that you grew up with a father who didn't listen more.
Yeah, and so I learned to say what I needed to say very fast, in a very short time.
So you learned to say in short times.
Yeah, so I think that what Selene shared about being slow, I think that's a real gift.
That's what Selene shared about being slow, that you see that as a gift.
Yeah, because there's always some kind of nervousness and rushedness in the getting it out fast.
There's the rushness for getting it out fast, so you're appreciating the slowness.
Yeah, and then I'll share that when I went into academia for my PhD, there were a lot of very busy professors who had very short time span and attention spans.
And then academia, you had experiences with professors who were busy and had very small amount of times.
So again, that skill that I acquired in childhood was very useful. When you speak to managers, when you speak to congressional staffers, when you speak to academicians who have large budgets, you want to get it in a very short time and be time efficient. So that's a blessing. But at the same time, the empathy circles slow things down, and that is a really great blessing for myself, for humanity. Thank you, I feel heard. Oh, you're going to share, so let me listen, and then I'll feel.
Okay. So you're taking that as a blessing, but you learned to speak very in small chunks while growing up. And then it was helpful in different aspects, political campaigns, like talking to these different groups of people. And you're also appreciating the blessing of empathy circles because it slows you down, which is a different kind of gift. And yeah, and you feel heard already.
Thank you, fully. Thank you.
Hmm. Okay. Terry, would you listen?
I'd be happy to, Mahip.
Sure. Okay. So I'm so happy to be here. It's been a while since I did an empathy circle. It was so frequent when I was in Santa Barbara, California, because I was in the group and we were showing up every week. But now, since I moved to the East Coast, it's been really limited. So I'm really happy that I'm here today.
Oh, your relocation really changed your empathy circle access, and you're finding that now, even being transplanted there, you're so happy to have this access right now today. And it's reminding you of Santa Barbara, your Santa Barbara time.
And also, I was reflecting that my work is so private, being in therapy because of confidentiality. And plus, I'm online, so I don't get to share my work with people. So I'm really grateful for today that I got to talk about, my work, which is so secretive in a way, for whatever reasons, that I could share it with so many people. So I'm very happy.
And you're feeling so much happiness because you had an opportunity to share about your work today with other people. And usually it's a large part of your experience that's just very private.
And then how I see the empathy movement is because of my current setup and with young children at home. The only way I'm contributing to the empathy movement is through my work, which is divided into providing therapy and also supervising 3 associates. So I teach them empathic listening in group supervision. So these are 2 ways it's showing up.
So your participation in the empathy movement show up in these 2 ways, in the actual therapy sessions and then in the supervising of the associates.
Yeah, I like to engage more or give more, but I am also checking with my current reality. And I think what I'm doing, I need to come to the realization that that is enough for now. In future, in few years, I can do more.
Yeah, and there's the reality of family life. You have young children at home. So even though you have the drive to do more empathy, you have to keep things in balance and expand the empathy activities in a few years when that becomes more available.
Yeah, I feel hurt. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mahip. Edwin, will you please listen to me?
Listening.
Well, one thing I'm doing right now is to help with the empathy in the world is increasing my self-empathy.
So the way that you're supporting empathy is deepening your own self-empathy.
Yeah, and I notice I need a lot of structure for that.
And need a lot of structure. It's just noticing that it takes a lot of structure. So you need a lot of structure for that.
Yeah, and that's a growth edge for me to, get to my journal more often and be there for what's arising in myself.
And like doing your journal and being there for yourself and writing.
So I'm working on that. And I also find that it's really helping me to practice Sanskrit mantra chanting.
So chanting is helping you. You're noticing that?
Yeah, I'm in a course right now that is really directed towards more simple practices that increase resonance in the nervous system with the quality of sound. So like if the sound is about clarity or creativity, then you might find that all of a sudden you have a lot more space for clarity.
So you're taking a course that's actually teaching how to make sounds that support having a sense of a feeling of clarity.
Yeah. And I find that this is helping me be very efficient because this year I decided I really enjoy sharing empathy circles as a weekend event with the vagal toning practices, the chanting, and then the circles after, like as something you might go to instead of a concert or a games or whatever. A meaningful thing, yeah.
Yeah, so you're enjoying hosting empathy circles with your vagal toning and having spaces that people can go to experience that versus go doing some other events.
Yeah, and then I can hang out with them too.
Gives you a chance to hang out with the people, your friends.
Yeah, and I just so happen to be a singer and I love to sing and I have a yoga background, so I'm doing this sound yoga training. Sound yoga is very popular now, but I think it will draw people to be able to do sound yoga inclusively with the body practice, the chanting with the correct pronunciation and the empathy circles, a very full experience.
So you're bringing together empathy circles with yoga, sound, and sort of body experiences, and you just sound like you enjoy that, and that's sort of the direction you're going, increasing that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jillian, I'll speak to you.
Yep, listening.
Yeah, I love the presentations. It's just so rich and varied, and just seeing how people are using empathy circles and bring it into their own lives in different ways. So I see the empathy circles as sort of a gateway practice, and you kind of build it into your life and your own sort of practices.
Yeah, you've been really excited how the presentations have taken empathy circle and used them in their own different ways to achieve different goals. So you see empathy circle is kind of a jumping off point that everybody's using to then do a lot of cool things.
Yeah, it's in terms of building a movement, I see it as foundational to it because it kind of gives you a starting space. And you can just keep building, expanding from there. So I'm just seeing it through all these presentations, how people are actually doing that. So that feels, really good.
Yeah, it feels really good to see the empathy circle being used in different ways, but as a foundation and that jumping off point to be able to do lots of different things.
And sort of thinking of what Selene was saying about, some people are there's sort of blocks to empathy. People aren't so empathy circles or empathy, so interested in taking part. I think that's what the empathy movement is about, is to make it more accepted or higher profile, something so it doesn't seem like such an odd thing. You get the presidential candidates doing empathy circles, everybody sees it and says, oh, we can do that at home, like people have talked about, or do it with my friends and so forth. So I think that's part of the movement, is sort of popularizing or making that shift.
Yeah, you see, like others have talked about, that there's a block for some people in wanting to engage in empathy or seeing the value in doing stuff like this. And so if we're able to get it more normalized and, maybe even have political elites participating in empathy circles, that could help to get more people on board instead of having a kind of weird reaction to it.
And I really liked Kevin's presentation because it compared sort of this, he's calling it performative empathy, but standard demonstrations versus another type of a demonstration would be an empathic demonstration. And that's something I've really been wanting to develop. And I've been looking at this idea of occupy empathy, where we occupy a space and sort of put some pressure on the power systems to take part in empathy circles, kind of be more assertive, sort of like Gandhi's march to the sea for salt or whatever it was.
Sure.
So it's a march to wherever for, mutual empathy.
Yeah. So Kevin's presentation did a great job of distinguishing between, the outward demonstration for one side of a cause versus just the main cause of empathy, and searching for that, no matter on what side of the spectrum you're on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel very heard. Thank you.
Good.
Selene hasn't listened yet, so if you'd like to pick.
Oh, Selene.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, what Edwin said, he said something in the last round about some people having a block of wanting to engage in empathy, and I kind of wanted to explore that a little further.
Okay, so you were noticing what Edwin said about some people having a block to empathy, and you'd like to explore that a little.
Yeah. And like I mentioned the first time, I have gotten interested in exploring it within the realm of academia and what they talk about with spotlight empathy or other types of empathy. But I also think I have another perspective to share on it that relates.
So you've talked about and how in academia there is something called spotlight empathy and how it's treated, and you want to look at from a different angle.
Yeah, exactly. This is something that I'm just thinking about right now. But when you talk about there being kind of a weirdness to hearing empathy circle or wanting to engage in a workshop for empathy, I definitely feel that weirdness.
So when people, you think, respond to the idea of an empathy workshop or circle or something, and there's weird about it, you understand what that's about.
Yeah, I do. I feel like I have that instinct. Like my dad was a computer scientist, my mom was a lawyer, and so both of them were very just like straightforward people and like success oriented and things like that. So things like mental health or sleep or something kind of took a backseat. And so I do have that instinct of like, is this worth my time? Like, what am I going to get out of this besides something emotional? I don't know.
So in your upbringing with your parents, things were kind of like straightforward and nothing kind of out of the ordinary or dealing with soft issues like mental health.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And so I feel like one of my goals of building the empathy movement, besides building it in academia, is also building it for people that have that instinct, because I have found some kind of value in it that's hard to put into words, and I'm still exploring. But I know there's a lot of people out there that have more trouble getting past that block to actually engage.
So you feel that your experience, I mean, you have the experience in academia, but you also have, I don't know, an alternative view maybe that sees the value because of the value you've experienced, and you think you can communicate this to people.
Exactly. Yeah. Bridging that gap, since I've kind of seen both sides of it. I feel heard.
Bridging the gap from academia, say, to more ordinary.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I feel heard.
Okay. So let's see. Terry, would you listen to me?
Love to listen to you, Selene.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I feel some sadness as I reflect on this, what is it? Seeming resistance to slowing down and engaging with each other in the empathy circle way.
And when you perceive this resistance to slowing down and having an empathy circle experience together, you're your body feels the sadness of your response?
Well, yes, not my response, but something I believe I've experienced from other people. And it's kind of like we have to have a goal that we're working towards, or something measurable. And because we're so busy with other things. And that's, I think, a loss.
Mhm. And your sadness is related to this way. It's not your way of being, but others. When there's always the goal and something measurable for what we're doing, that orientation can miss something that's valuable. It feels like a loss.
Yes. I think of, and then I want to be practical, what might work? And maybe a short film at a film festival about the the wonders of such and such an empathy circle and what it's been able to achieve.
And practical ideas start to come to mind, like maybe this could be, this information could be disseminated at a film festival with the focused on this is what empathy circles actually achieve, so people could see that.
And then I had another idea as a sometime activist that we could have a march to somewhere where we then sit in circles and have empathy circles with, of course, with signs and stuff.
And then your activist self has an idea of like there's a march to somewhere, and then everybody's sitting in circles and doing empathy, and they have their signs right there.
Yeah, I actually think that would be fantastic to do. So anyway, I'm piqued by this question of how to expand and promote and engage more and different people in the empathy circle process.
And you're excited about the empathy practice march, and now your interest is really piqued about this question about how to spread awareness of this practice and process.
Yes, thank you very much. I feel well heard.
Thanks, Selene. Mahip, would you please listen to me? Uh, yeah, I think my experience of wanting to share empathy practices has been going on for about like 7 years now.
You're reflecting back and seeing it's been 7 years since you started practicing empathy circles
Empathy practices.
or empathy practices.
Yeah, and along the way, I've had like a lot of grief about the effect of non-empathy in my life.
And along the way, you also experience grief for not experiencing empathy in your life.
Yeah, and like this really ferocious aspect of me that wants others to do the practice.
And you're aware of this very ferocious part of you who wants other to practice empathy.
Yeah. And yeah, just reinforcing that I've learned through recent events that my self-empathy and my ability to extend empathy.
Your voice cracked a little.
Are not present is where the ability to extend empathy when others. Is that better?
Yeah, it came back now. Yeah, but I missed the middle of what you're sharing.
You want to say it again? I think
When others
your
are not able
bandwidth,
to part
maybe
of it, if I start again, okay.
if you
Saying that
turn your video
I'm
off,
really
you
aware
might have
that
more
my
bandwidth.
self-empathy. Turn video off. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanting to reiterate that like self-empathy and also being able to have empathy for others when they are maybe activated is where I need to practice right now myself.
Mhm. So you're focusing on developing more self-empathy, and also especially when in times of activation, how to practice empathy has become more focused.
Yeah, and I think and feel that this is powerful to just anchor me in the field of empathy.
Mm. And you're identifying this as a powerful tool for anchoring you in the empathy movement.
Yeah, I think of empathy as an energy that is always available.
Mm. You see empathy as an energy that's always available.
And if I make myself more available to it, it will show me what to do next to increase itself.
And if you make yourself available to it, it will show you the direction.
Yeah. Thank you, Mahi. I feel heard.
Thank you for sharing. Janna, okay, do you hear me?
Sure.
Yeah, I am just listening to everyone and sitting with the experiences as well as ideas that are coming up in this group.
So you're just kind of listening and appreciating all these ideas that are bubbling up here.
And I don't have a sense of direction or an idea yet. I'm just enjoying that energy and just like this presence.
And you're just appreciating the energy. You don't have any specific idea yet, but you're just enjoying the presence and the energy and the ideas.
Yeah, and as I think deeply about the movement, I keep going back to I don't have to move anywhere for the movement. It's like more doing exactly what I'm doing and living it, embodying it. That's my movement.
And regarding the movement, the empathy movement, you don't feel like you need to go anywhere. You're embodying empathy and just to keep doing what you're doing, and that is the movement.
Yeah, that's what came up for me when I tapped into the presence or the energy. Like, yeah, just keep living and keep embodying this way of being, and that's my role right now.
So when you tap into this energy of empathy and you reflect on what comes up for you, that's what comes up for you right now. Just this way of being, embodying in this way of being.
Mm. And I feel like people who are ready for this way of being are naturally coming to me through my work or through education or through the circles or networks I'm part of. So I get to just be who I am and engage and contribute in the movement just by or keeping things the same way, but the people are coming to me. That's how it feels like right now.
So you're letting people find you, and you trust that the people who are drawn to this practice will come to you and are finding you. And so you just need to stay where you are, and the movement will happen towards you and expand from you.
Yes, I feel heard. Thank you so much.
Edwin, would you like to listen to me?
Listening.
Yeah, so when I heard Mahip earlier, and now what comes to mind is like growing a really deep, stable taproot, like a good solid foundation, so that when person-centered therapy 2.0 emerges and takes over the world, it will have a strong, solid grounding.
So the metaphor that's coming to mind, when you hear Mahip speaking, is about growing these really deep roots, creating a really strong foundation. So when the time is right, it'll flower, the plant will grow, really well.
Yeah. And yeah, just a delight to hear, how Mahip uses empathy circles, the empathy practice in therapy, and then, Kevin in his workplace at the university for young people, and Dean in the family. Wow. I mean, just like incredible. And then, Selene, bringing it to groups. I'm going to invite you.
Yeah, so just hearing how all these people are using empathy circles, I mean, just sounds like you're very energized by that.
Yeah, and appreciating also Terry's self-empathy practice and sharing it with us.
And you're just pointing out all the different people and how they're applying it, and just maybe an appreciation for each of them.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and even though Jillian didn't present this time, tackling that definition, and that's really courageous. It's a big sword to wield, sort of light.
Yeah, you're appreciating Jillian too with the work she's doing. Everyone's sort of working in their own way on, moving this forward.
Yeah, and of course we all appreciate Edwin.
Some appreciation from me too.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess I'll also share that I'm an acupuncturist, so these vagal toning points are not difficult to remember and to recognize, like brightening the eyes. Thank you for that.
Yeah, more gratitude for the body work because you have a acupuncture background, sort of an awareness of the body too.
Yeah, and yeah, so of course, I would love empathy circles to reach 8 billion people. And I have all kinds of ideas that I'm kind of doors that are opening, I think, now for that to happen. And that if I have another turn, I'll share that. Thank you so much.
So you're sharing that you have that goal of teaching 8 billion people in the world how to do the empathy circles, and just some doors opening up for kind of moving that idea forward.
Thanks. I feel very
heard. Okay, Terry, let's speak to you. Are you there, Terry? Just maybe you want to.
Sure, I'd love to listen.
Might turn your video off. There's a little bit of a lag.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, in terms of building the empathy movement, so one of the first steps towards that was just having the idea that it's part of a movement. So that's what we've been trying to promote, people thinking about, hey, this is a bigger movement. It's just not a lot of individuals doing, their work, but part of a really movement to change the culture.
So the first part of building the empathy movement is helping people understand that this is a movement with many people engaged. It's not just a few individuals, and there's an idea that this can promote culture change, and you wanting people to understand that.
And another part has been hosting these summits, and thanks to Janna for being one of the organizers of this together. And it's just hearing, unless we hold these summits, we don't hear all these different stories, which are just, Janna's shaking her head. Yes, because it's so gratifying to hear all these individual stories that we don't hear without this space for everyone to share them. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, and you're excited because after sharing that there's a movement, then the summits come in where there gets to be a showcase of the people in the movement, and we get to hear everyone's stories about where they are and what they're doing.
Yeah, so you can see the ripple effect. I mean, just the impact like on Dean and the impact of Mahip and everyone else, just on the individuals that they've touched too. I mean, it's very gratifying. It feels really good to know that we've contributed, to that in a positive way. There's a positive energy that we're.
Yeah, it's gratifying to see the generative contribution of empathy practice and of how it translates into the lives of people, like Mahip was sharing with his client about his clients.
And the other is a project we just started was setting up a training curriculum. So that's a project we're going to start sort of a public domain empathy training curriculum. We have some trainings already, but to expand on that and make it really easy for people to create trainings. And I can really see with what Mahip is doing, a training on training therapists. I think that would be. I can see that sort of developing.
Mm-hmm. And then another strategy to help the movement is having this training available in the public domain and making it accessible for different people in different areas, such as therapists.
And the other is an activism, taking our empathy tent out and being more activist. And that piece that Kevin put out there, that's really well done, and I think can really help us with that. A new type of empathic activism. It's giving me energy for that.
And you have energy, you have movement around just taking the empathy tent out and having that be a new kind of activism. And Kevin's presentation touched on that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. So has everyone had 2 speaking turns, Janna? Everyone has had? Okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Selene, would you be willing to listen to me?
Yeah, sure.
I much prefer to have my video on, but I'm worried that my internet will cause a problem. Will you just let me know if I need to turn it off?
Okay.
Yeah, I so appreciate getting to hear everyone's ideas, and I know these stories will stay with me.
So you appreciate hearing everybody's stories, and you know that they will stay with you. You'll be thinking about them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to just pause a moment and consider everything that I've heard today and seen.
So you're taking a moment to pause and consider everything that you've heard and seen and kind of digesting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really brings up a lot of hope and joy for me.
I didn't hear everything, but I heard something about enjoyment of. It brings up a lot. Oh, yeah, let's try that this way.
It really brings up a lot of hope and joy for me.
So it brings you hope and joy to experience this, be part of this.
Yeah, it brings me a quantity of hope and joy that is much greater than many other strategies I see in the world today.
So it brings you a lot of hope and joy, more than many of the other experiences and that you have and seek.
Yeah, it's a relation of my social engagement nervous system to be part of the movement.
I didn't hear all that you said, but I heard something about, I'm going to add a little guess, your appreciation for your involvement and that it gives you hope and you are happy to be part of this movement.
it's that I feel so much nourishing energy in my heart and my face.
I got that there's so much nourishment for you in your heart and your faith, your soul, I guess, from this from the empathy movement, empathy circle movement.
Yep. Thank you. I feel heard.
Thank you. So, Janna, are we at time or do another?
Almost 15 minutes to go.
Oh, okay. Phew. Okay. Wrote some things down.
Pick a listener.
Yeah. Janna, I'll ask you again.
Sure.
So, I'm going to share from my personal situation with a little vulnerability.
So you're going to venture a little vulnerability here.
And I have more emotion there than I anticipated, but I'll push it down. Don't worry.
And you're sharing that emotion is coming up for you, but you'll make it disappear. No worry.
Yeah, not worry. I am, I guess, caregiving my partner who has a awful and ongoing illness that is very creates a lot of limitations for her.
So you're caregiving your partner, and she has an illness that has a lot of limitations.
And so I notice, how I relate and the empathy that is very careful and to not impose myself, my worries, my concerns, to leave a lot of room for her expressions.
So you acknowledging that caregiving for her requires a lot of empathy from you in kind of leaving her a lot of space and not expressing your worries and your concerns, not sharing them, not taking up space with yourself there.
And also not imagining or speaking for her or any of those things. And I think these are skills that I learned in the empathy circle practice to allow, to not imagine that I know and therefore, become an authority on her experience.
And also the practice has enabled you to be very careful in not becoming an authority for her and not speaking for her, but to acknowledge and allow her experience.
Yes, and this is so, I realize now, automatic and comfortable, and I truly do attribute it to the skills I've learned in the empathy circles.
And you're saying that this is so automatic now for you, and you're very comfortable with this, and it's very natural for you, and you attribute this to the empathy circle skills that you acquired through practice, through ongoing practice.
Thank you very much. I feel heard.
Jillian, would you like to listen to me?
Yes.
It was something that Terry shared about connecting with the energy of empathy.
You want to explore something Terry said about connecting energy, empathy?
Yeah, I recently listened to a presentation by a woman who channels money. She connects with the energy of money, and she channels money
for
You
people.
listened to a presentation recently about a woman who can channel the energy of money.
Yeah, she's really lovely, and it's very beautiful what she does. But I guess Terry might be our first empathy channeler, and then we'll all learn to channel empathy.
Yeah, you're wondering if similarly to the woman channeling money, if we can also learn to channel empathy.
Yeah. And so I'll share some of my aspirations for this global empathy movement. So Edwin and I were dialoguing quite a bit about bridging divides and political divides with empathy circles.
Yeah, you and Edwin have chatted recently about bridging political divides by using empathy circles.
And every time we talked, we kept circling around back to braver angels.
You kept circling back to braver angels when you would talk about it.
Yeah, and I actually I'll add as an aside that I really wondered whether Kevin Waldman is connected to braver angels or not, and he would really love it.
Yeah, you were wondering if Kevin was connected to braver angels, and you'd like to maybe explore that further with him.
So now the Empathy Center is an official member organization of Braver Network, the Braver Angels Network, and we have free memberships for anyone who wants to join Braver Angels. And yeah.
Oh man, you're like free membership for the next 10 seconds if you can respond. Yeah, free memberships to Braver Angels. That's really cool. Yeah, that you guys are now part of that Braver Angels network.
Well, it's all of us, right? It's all of us who participate in empathy circles, right? That's you too. And we got 100 free memberships. So some of them have been grabbed up, but you can grab up some of those.
I can grab a spot if I like. There's more memberships available. Wow, you guys got 100 memberships for those that do empathy circles.
Yeah, and then I reached out to Maoz and Aziz. I don't know if you've heard them, the Palestinian and Israeli who did a TED Talk together. They're both bereaved from the conflict, and they have a new book, and it's called Future is Peace.
Wow. So a representative of Palestinian and an Israeli who are both bereaved did a TED Talk together and have since written a book that has to do with bridging divides, probably.
Yeah, I feel heard. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next step.
Great. Mahit, you want to go? You want to listen?
Yes.
All right. Well, I am now going to be part of Braver Angels, so that's pretty cool.
You're very excited about being part of the Braver Angels.
Yeah. Braver Angels actually it's an organization that I've looked at as I've explored someplace that I want to work with closely. I really like the stuff that they do, and I've been trying to get more involved in the Southern Indiana network of it. But I've just been so busy, so maybe this will be a good push for me to get more involved.
So you were already exploring this organization before, wanted to be part of them, and now this looks like a great opportunity to push you into them.
Exactly, yeah, because I do something kind of similar to Edwin. I'm working on a game designed to measure moral decision making. And similarly to Empathy Circle, the idea is that it's kind of a jumping off point. You can do this test and then do programming with it after that.
So you do something similar to Edwin, and you have this game design, and you are thinking about this piloting something, and then take it from there.
Yeah. So I can see it being used in lots of different spheres, so like moral education or character education, but civic education as well, and learning viewpoint diversity. Oh, you have more autonomous values versus I'm more communal. Like, can I see that from the other perspective now that we have the language to do it?
So you have a design for this project in mind, helping people look at themselves from different perspectives and then come to more closer clarity.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So Braver Angels, that would be really cool. In my experience, it seems like a lot of members are older in Braver Angels. I'm not sure if that's right. But then also Bridge USA is another one that's similar, and that might be more like undergrads. So there might be a different population for the two of those. But Bridge USA is another one that I like.
So Bridge USA and Braver Angels, you're reflecting on these two organizations, and maybe they're And then you're looking at the demographics. Maybe there are more older people involved, and maybe the other one has more undergrads. You're just curious and excited.
Yes, exactly. But my game is intended to also offer a methodology that can be adapted to older generations or younger, even like K through 12. I would love to see, which I see as similar to empathy circles. You could do empathy circles with older people, or you could do them with kids. You know, you never know what they're going to say, but you can train kids with empathy circles to be able to listen better at a young age.
So your game is adaptable, like just like empathy circles can be given to older people as also the kids. Your game design is also that way, and you're experiencing a lot of excitement thinking about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is really having me start to reflect more on different populations, and especially older. I've thought about K through 12 quite a bit, and undergrads, obviously. But yeah, the connection of Braver Angels, I'm getting excited.
So connection of Braver Angels is getting you excited, and you're also excited about connecting it to this K through 12 and these different age groups.
Exactly. Thank you, Mahib. I feel heard.
We only have about 2 minutes left, so probably not enough for doing another round. We want to do a little debrief or something.
Are you asking me or
John? Oh, each of us. Maybe we could, I don't know, Janna, maybe she was facilitating, but
no, that's fine. There's just something I want to share for Terry, but she's not here, which is that she's very humble and she's really contributing significantly to the movement, because when we were in Phoenix, she's organized 2 in-person facilitator trainings in Phoenix. I've gone to both of them. She organized another day of, I'm praising you, Terry, so maybe your ears are turning red. And another full day of empathy circle event, a special event. And also she connected us with the ethical culture. We did an empathy circle event with them. So it's not only self-empathy, but just to acknowledge that. Yeah.
I put the memberships there, so that's a link if you want to click on that, especially Jillian, if you're...
Yeah, you could have given me a 5-minute head start. Now everybody's getting it. Everybody's signing up. You're going to be out of
There's plenty. I think we're probably have
this is really cool. Thank you for this.
Yeah, something just came to me that Kevin actually wrote an article critical of empathy, and it was in the newspaper and some papers. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, would you do an interview and a dialogue about empathy? And he said, okay, we'll do it. And it was actually through having that discussion that he totally turned around. Now he's a huge fan of the empathy circle. So that's where I always try to reach out to the critics. A lot of them won't talk to me, but I'm always confident that if we can just talk to them, if they can understand what we're talking about, that will turn the critics around.
Wow, I would love to hear his story about the same thing you've just said, as Edwin.
Yeah, he sort of mentioned a little bit. He didn't go into depth, but it would be interesting. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to close all the rooms, so we've got about 60 seconds before we'll be moved into the main room. Anyone else want to share before we close? And Jillian, I hope we can talk about the curriculum, since you're actually Indiana, there where you're at, has one of the top learning centers, training.
Are you talking about that instructional systems technology?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been looking into that more, and I actually met with the department head of it recently, who does group exercise with me. I teach group fitness classes.
Oh.
And she does those. So yeah, so I'm digging deeper into that.
Oh, great. Yeah, we can get maybe some of their students doing what they call the capstone would be really great. Yeah.
No, and I think I could even do that. I think there's some stuff or like certificates available for grad students.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of connections.
Hello and welcome back, circlers.
Oh, wait a minute.
What's happening? You need to leave the breakout room.
Oh. Just
No, we
I will
just got another
close all the
minute.
rooms right now. I'm on it.
somehow we hit the wrong button, or some people are getting moved around.
This is...
Okay, now we're back. Doesn't look like everyone's back yet. There's one group.
This is it, I think. There's one group.
Yeah, Bill's group is still, at least according to this.
Okay.
Somehow they're stuck in a.
It'll
They got
close
10 seconds.
10
10
seconds.
seconds, yeah, before they get beamed back.
So Bill's leading the debrief, and he'll
Right,
be in a
that's why we
moment.
needed him.
All right.
There we are.
There we go. Hey, Bill.
Hey.
We're passing it on to you if you're up
Right.
for it.
Right. Okay. So welcome back, everyone. And please take 30 seconds each, and we're going to share your ideas and projects for building an empathy circle, empathy movement, sorry. I will call on people to share, and I will call on Kara first. And go ahead, Kara.
I did not get to be in the circle, so I don't have any new ideas from there, but I'll take a quick second to say that I think that the fastest way to build and spread the empathy movement is to get our elders and our youngers together and have these circles and conversations, because if we can tie that circle into a knot, we'll have a lot of movement. Check.
Great. Nita?
Thank you so much. My thing always is particularly get the kids from preschool through, and then as they grow older and continue making it a part of everyday life.
Thank you, Nita. Mahip?
Yeah. For me, the movement is continue to do my work with my clients and also continue to train other psychologists in empathic listening who can do the same work with their clients. And yeah, for the movement for me is happening in my heart. And I'm just gonna keep doing the same thing every day. And that's my movement.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a great movement. Janna?
I love empathy circles, and it's just a joy to be here. And what a great summit! Really, they're all wonderful, and they just get better. So, we had a wonderful conversation in our empathy circle as well. Thank you, everyone.
Great, thanks. Jillian?
Yeah, I'm in that room. It was a great conversation. My idea is thinking about curriculum, like Empathy Circle or like the moral compass game I work on, that can spark empathy and things like depolarization.
Great, thank you, Jillian. Maria?
Yeah, it's not a great idea, small one, just keep what we are doing because it is so much fun and so important and yeah, so inspiring. So thank you all of you.
Okay, and Selene?
Well, based on my personal sharing, it occurs to me that bringing empathy circles and training to the elder population, especially in connection with caregiving, both giving and receiving, is a place where the empathy movement can grow.
Thank you, Selene. Lori?
For me, my project has to do with participatory governance, bringing together people who can listen to each other and create the future together.
Great. Mel, good to see you.
Thanks. Good to see you too. Thanks for helping out with this. I'm always delighted to come. I'm for the last 2 years, I've been working on a fiction book called The Enlightenment of Zuma, and I think it's going to be finished in about 2 or 3 months. I'm just finishing with the line edit. And it's about Zoom is from the planet Zoom, who uses Zoom communication technology, which is basically nonviolent communication, empathy, and things like that. And so this is kind of a sneaky way to spread empathy, communication skills for people who don't want to attend a formal group but like to read fiction. And it's about her adventures, and it was so much fun to write. And so anyway, it should be out in a few months.
Great, great. Looking forward to it. I hope you'll post it to send us the link or to so we can spread it.
Thanks.
Ingrid.
Oh, I really loved the whole summit, our circle as well. And I think, I mean, I'm gonna just keep doing what I'm doing. And something that's kind of emerging for me is that I'm into the weaving idea, to experience us as weavers of an empathy field. And that speaks to me, and I'm gonna explore that more internally and explore externally, weaving the field of empathy.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Bob.
I was delighted to have this realization that an empathy circle is a sign of global unity, and I hope it keeps growing. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Susan.
I'd like to build on some of my experience in business. I had a 1-hour speech on working effectively with difficult people, and people came with somebody in mind. I gave the speech a lot, and then they brought me more business. So now I've crafted a 1-hour speech called Empathy and Beyond, and I will be giving that. It's not about empathy circles. It's very intriguing and has people tune in to the inner experience of the important people in their lives. And then at the end, I will recommend empathy circles. So I'm going to be in front of a lot of people who don't know about empathy circles. And if I'm successful, here they come.
Cool.
And many of you don't know this, but I was the role model for that difficult person. David, would you share, please?
I had plugged my app and website, empathies.app, which creates a community for empathy and those who practice it. So on-demand empathy, one-on-one, and in groups. So the idea that people can come, learn, train, be nurtured, and allow that to filter out to the rest of the world.
Thank you, David. Wayne?
Well, first, thanks. I'm a newcomer here, so I really appreciate the opportunity to spend for me, it's the afternoon with folks here in Toronto. And just a couple of quick things. I guess one is I do see empathy as like a positive virus, and the practice of it draws people to it. They want it. And so I think the more that just there's the practice of empathy kind of in the everyday, the world's better for it. In my own work in trying to build, including empathy in healthcare and the like, one of the adages I learned actually is work with the willing. And my image is of a train, and you can spend a lot of time in the caboose and never get anything going. So you need to know like who's up there in the front of the train. And as they move along, the train moves along, even the caboose moves along. But the need is to work with the people actually who know how to keep the train moving, right? Rather than the people who are in the back who don't want to do much. So anyway, that's just kind of something that I learned that I think might be helpful here. Thanks again.
Thanks, Wayne. Sally LaFaux?
Yeah, well, the rich conversations that are, that we all enjoy in empathy circles are just phenomenal. And, I'm just going to keep going to them and helping facilitate them. And also just, in my daily life, bringing empathy more into my world. And, when people see more empathy, then they, like you said, Wayne, they want more empathy as well. So I think that's my goal. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Sally. Becky.
I think I'd like to start participating in empathy circles more. I've done very little of it. And I'm thinking about recommending it for my church and then taking the training and seeing if maybe I could start an empathy circle in Oklahoma City.
Great. We're all behind you. And certainly if you need any support, please let us know.
Thank you.
Daniel.
I feel like we had this conversation. There's just two sides. One is the movement, the other side is the magnet. And that's what I heard from Wayne, like, attract people, build this field that pulls people in. And I think the core element of that is to show up, for all of us, to keep showing up. The more of us keep show up predictably and reliably, the more the people who just peek into us go like, wow, there's something really happening over here.
All right. Okay. To be continued. Terry.
Well, I'm doing a weekend evening event. Another one.
We can't. Your audio is clicking in and out.
I'm sorry, I've been having issues with my
We can hear you
settings.
now.
Is that better?
Yeah. What we heard is that you're doing a weekend or evening event, and then you cut out. Now we can't hear you. Can you hear us, Terry? Okay. Oh, you can hear us, but we cannot hear you at this point. Okay.
You can put in the chat, Terry. You can put something in the chat.
Right. Okay, we're getting the thumbs up. All right, Cherry, we're going to give you a little time to resolve your issue. You can type, Janna had a good suggestion about typing into the chat your checkout. And if you do, then we'll read it. And then let me put back. Okay. And Rachel Medanik, your audio and video is off. Would you like to? No?
I don't think she's here. She's been in our group and she was quiet the whole time.
Oh, she was quiet the whole time. Okay. And Terry, did you put it? I don't see anything in the chat. Okay. All right. All right. Well, I'll go. So I'm producing the training, so it's been really great. I've been, I think, blessed to be working with all these compassionate, skillful people who care so much. And we've been doing this since 2020, so 6 years. We put on about 4 trainings a year, sometimes more, some in person. So I encourage you to go to that Empathy Circle training website, check it out. Thanks to Daniel again. And also, I'm trying to do an Empathy Circle game, which I'm struggling with. But the idea is to kind of address my childhood traumas from playing Monopoly and Risk. So I'll turn it over to Edwin to finish this out.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bill. Let's see, my spotlight for everyone. There we go. In the chat, I had placed our next steps. First I just share how I feel about the experience. Yeah, it was just really great summit just to hear all these speakers, how taking their own, the experience of the empathy circle and building on it in their own ways. I think that's really part of what it takes to build a movement. And I was really gratified that Kevin spoke because he was a critic of empathy, and he had written an article sort of negative about empathy. So, and I said, oh, I want to empathize with you. I want to hear what your criticisms are. And we had a talk and just had a really great, when he really understood what we were talking about, he totally changed. Now you can see it. He's just become a huge proponent, advocate for empathy. So I think that's part of it, is the people who are critical of empathy to say, hey, I want to hear what you have to say, and I'm willing to listen. And that's how we kind of turn things around. A lot of times people say, I don't want to listen. So that's a bit of a bigger struggle. Like, how do you, or they don't want to listen, they don't want to dialogue. So I'm kind of seeing that as a problem. So, and there's a new book out, Suicidal Empathy. So I'm going to reach out to the author there to see if he'll have a dialogue about empathy. But in terms of next steps, let's see here. I put down a whole list in the chat. So to be a speaker at a future empathy summit, we have the next empathy summit coming up October 3rd. And it's a review of global review of empathy training programs around the world. So if you have a training or know of some, send them our direction and let them, there's links there on how to sign up for to be a speaker at the future summit. It's part of a bigger project we have of building an empathy movement curriculum. So sort of a free, off-the-shelf, public domain curriculum. So I really want to get trainers involved in helping build that. And Susan was helping work on that too, and a lot of other people. So the next is we have a fundraiser. Ingrid, would you like to speak about that? And,
yes.
Yeah.
So you heard we are a movement, we are a magnet, we are also a nonprofit, and we do ask you to contribute in any way you can, but also monetarily. And currently we have a specific project to which you can contribute. You see the link, the donation link up. So there is a conference coming up that is held by Braver Angels. If you haven't heard about Braver Angels, it's an organization that was founded in 2016. It seems to be more sizable than our organization, even though we have trained a lot of people. We don't even know how big we are, so I don't know. But they are a big organization, and their mission is to bridge the political divide and strengthen the democratic republic, and to build a cross-partisan movement. And they are having a conference coming up, and we would like to send our wonderful Janna, who is one of the hosts today and a speaker as well. We want to send her to this conference and actually sponsor her being there. The amount we are looking to raise is $650, and we would love for you to contribute to that by clicking on that donate button. Your donation is tax deductible, and you will receive a receipt from me. So every amount is appreciated. It's the first time we are fundraising for a specific purpose, and I'm really curious how this is going to go. I think it's a wonderful purpose. $650 we're looking for. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Ingrid. And also, there was Braver Angels. We joined the Braver Angels network, and they gave us, as joining their network, they gave us 100 free Braver Angels memberships, and that was just posted in there too, the link. So all you have to do, it says free to join Braver Angels with the Empathy Center member org. And there's a link. Just click on that, fill it out, and then you become a Braver Angels member. So
it's very easy. So you
just filled it out. So, great. Yeah. So we hope that you'll kind of support this effort. Janna's going to be wearing her empathy T-shirt. We have cards that we have. We got the cards. So the cards that we hand out is free empathy. Get free empathy, 10 minutes of free empathy. Well, because breaking up there. And then on the other side, it's just about the organization that we're building the empathy movement. So she's going to there's, I think, 800 people so far signed up to go. And so, we're going to be, she's going to be handing out cards and trying to get, we hope to host an regular empathy cafe with them online. So that's one of our tasks. And we've done a lot already here locally in the Bay Area. So very excited about that, about Janna going and all that connection. So the next we have, you can be a Summit team member, kind of help host these. So we have Kara and Janna and I and Jonathan, who couldn't be here, but they were the core of hosting these summits, and we could always use more help. And there's a link there on how you can join. You can go to the Empathy Center, our main empathycenter.org. That's our main organization. You can go there and check out all of our projects. Bill already mentioned the training, and there's a link there to the training. And there's a schedule link to empathy circles worldwide, so you can check that. And we hope that you'll host more. And if you host Larry, he's been hosting, I don't know, 2 or 3 a week for, I don't know, years. So he's on the calendar, and so you're welcome to attend his circles or any of the others and host your own and then get on the calendar. And I'll just put this in one more time. So this is our feedback form. So if you right now take a moment and click on that feedback form, it should open, and maybe just type in your email and kind of just want to get you started on filling that out. So when we close the call here, that you'll have that open, you can easily just fill it out. Just add some extra comments. We always love to hear what your comments are, any suggestions, and maybe topics for future empathy summits. The next 3 are going to be on, at least are going to be on the training, creating the training curriculum. So kind of really excited about that. So that's pretty much it for this summit. We're so glad that you all attended. I'm feeling pretty jazzed about this summit. Thank you, Kara, for doing the hosting, and Janna for all your work on helping to organize that. And with that, we like to just end with our
Before we end,
oh, there's more?
Bill's got his hand up, and I'm hoping he's going to talk a little bit about the trainings that we were just talking about.
I'll go for it.
I will. I was no, but I specifically did it because Terry is having technical problems, so I wanted to read what she wrote in the chat. You can go to the chat and see her stuff. So this is from Terry. My next weekend evening event is June 27th with the empathy. Whoops, what happened here? Okay. No, it isn't. Can be in person listed there. Okay. So, all right. So that wasn't known. But basically, she will be doing vagal toning and Sanskrit mantra chanting. I don't think that will change. I'm also practicing awareness of when I am engaging in non-empathy. And I think as I receive more empathy for that, I will naturally expand in empathy. So that was her checkout. I wanted to do that. As far as the training is concerned, if you go to that Empathy Circle training website, you can apply and check out what we're doing, plus also download the handbook, which will give you more kind of our history and things like that. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Phil. So we'll say goodbye to everyone, just with some applause hands. It's always nice to get a photograph of the group.
And save the chat.
Save the chat. That's right. There's 3 buttons there. There's a lot of links that were put in there, and saving that chat will make it easy to get back to those.
And if you have problems saving the chat because you're on a phone or something, you can email Edwin. Or
email Janna.
Email me, and we'll send you the chat. Okay.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.